Okay, welcome everybody to the August 14th Village Board meeting. I'd like to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first on the agenda, County Legislator Joel Tynan. What do you have for us this month, Joel?
Evening, Mr. Mayor and everybody. So you asked me last month to look into I guess it's a total $90,000 cost for the elevator lift to the second floor, but looking for $50,000 from the county. And I've been hearing some positive things, as you and I have talked offline, but nothing's definite. And I also wanted to give credit where credit is due. The village clerk, Pat Kuhn, actually put me in touch with a woman who's sort of been very integrally involved with this, who knows people who've struggled, and she called into my Saturday morning radio show. And so, who knows, maybe something good can happen. I would also note that, believe it or not, in American Samoa, they just launched the second public bank in the country. Bank of North Dakota has been around for about 100 years. They're looking at public banks in Washington, D.C., and Philly, all over California, Santa Fe. What does that have to do with Rhinebeck? Because public banks finance infrastructure upgrades like that at half the price. Because when you're going with a public bank to finance this stuff for government, and it's not Wall Street or some private firm that's out to make a buck, it saves money for everybody. So I just thought I'd put it out there. There's actually somebody running for the state legislature in another part of the county who's talking about it. I've been pushing for it for 8 years. I just wanted to put it out there. If you go to publicbankinginstitute.org, aside from the fact that our county fund balance, again, it was just reported a couple months ago. We ended 2017 with $55 million, surplus fund balance. The year before that, we ended 2016 with a $59 million left over, and the year before that, $57 million left over. By way of context and background, from 96 through 2012, we roughly used to end every year with about $20 million left over. So there's money, and I hope the county comes through with that. Our next Repair Cafe, I think it might be the 25th, is going to be Saturday, the 15th of September from noon to 4 p.m. across the way at Rhinebeck Town Hall. So I just thought I'd put that out there. I don't have my glasses on, but I think that may be the esteemed Daniel Shapley of Riverkeeper in Rhinebeck who just sat down. And I just wanted to put it out there talking about a public bank. I've gotten involved and I've done some research. Actually, 10 years ago, I got a resolution passed for green infrastructure, for the green roofs and the rain gardens, and it's still not happening. And I want to give you, of course, and Elizabeth Spinzia, and there's other municipalities, with this watershed thing. But what's frustrating to me is with that massive county fund balance, there's all this science out there. Columbia University proved 7 years ago 1 billion square feet of green roofs being turned into green roofs would keep 10 billion gallons of water out of the city sewer systems. And I'm sick and tired of being afraid when it rains that another 500,000 gallons of raw human waste and sewage flows into the Hudson River, which has been happening. So I would love to see, I'm glad you guys are doing the intermunicipal watershed, but I just thought I'd put it out there if you wanted to help me push for a new Dutchess County revolving loan fund, a green infrastructure revolving loan fund, because you put that money into green roofs, and so that water doesn't, the storm water doesn't go right into the sewers, it pays off. So we don't have to worry about, what floating by the water intakes. University of Toronto just came out with a report, green roofs can capture 70% of the water. Community choice aggregation is a concept I've been pushing for several years. One of the top guys in the Hudson Valley, expert on this issue, a guy named Jeff Demansky from the Institute for Building Technology and Safety, and he's worked with RenewableHighlands.org. I'm inviting you all. He and I are doing a public forum that's Wednesday, September 5th at 5 o'clock at Clinton Town Hall. Because there was a great presentation from Good Energy at Clinton Town Hall a few weeks ago, and it's really important that if any community, any municipality, city, town, or village is going to go with community choice aggregation, it's really important to hear from different presenters. Renewable Highlands is already working with, Phillipstown, I think Cold Spring, Beacon, Fishkill, And there's presentations all over the county. I think it's just really important that before a municipality embarks upon CCA, that they hear from both sides. So whether you're from Rhinebeck or Clinton or whatever, that's Wednesday, September 5th at 5 o'clock at Clinton Town Hall. Jeffrey Demansky from the Institute for Building Technology and Safety, that's ibts.org. Just two other things. Alan Schur, the Deputy Rhinebeck Town Supervisor, and I, several weeks ago, we hosted a forum at Rhinebeck Town Hall. I'm not going to lie and say there was a packed house, but I've convinced him to launch like a Rhinebeck working group task force to look at municipal broadband. And if you go to muninetworks.org or ilsr.org, there's tons of different places all across the country that have done this. Most of the time, the taxpayers don't have to pay anything. And having real choice of broadband, quality, and inexpensiveness is a real issue in Rhinebeck. So there's a guy named Christopher Mitchell, who's the top guy in the country on this issue with the Institute for Local Self-Reliance, muninetworks.org. He promised me for months he would get me maps. He just got me the 3 maps of Dutchess County and Rhinebeck. And I already forwarded them to Alan Schur. I will forward them to you guys so you can take a look, because I'd like to have town officials and village officials and citizens working on that. The only thing I was going to mention is there's a woman from Dutchess County, Valerie Carlisle, who just went down south dealing with the kids separated from families. It's a Dutchess County issue because guess what? There's a $150 million contract that Dutchess County has. Our money, our county tax dollars are being used to fund the private prisons and those immigration detention centers. JP Morgan Chase is funding Core Civic and GEO Group, the 2 biggest for-profit prison corporations that are keeping those kids separate. So it's not just me, there's a growing number of people in Dutchess County saying Dutchess County needs to divest and shut down that account with JP Morgan Chase. I've been on this issue for 8 years. I started out, we need to divest from Wells Fargo. Dutchess County divested from Wells Fargo. We need to close the account with Bank of America. Dutchess County did that. Now I'm targeting JP Morgan Chase. So that's it.
Thank you, Legislator Mr. Kleiner.
Yep.
And thank you for your help on our...
Yeah, well, we'll see if I come through. I don't, not going.
Right, so normally we incorporate the presentations in with our standard business, but we have going to change it up a little bit and put the presentations up front in terms of just getting them through the process earlier. So if anybody's here to hear about our Legion Park bid or the farmers market, you don't have to sit through the rest. We would enjoy you to stay for the rest of the meeting, but you're not, and you don't have to do that. So, Trustee Tyler, would you like to introduce our Crawford?
Yes, we have engineer Ryan Louts from Crawford & Associates. I've been working with him on the Legion Park grant that we were awarded last year by the county, $100,000 grant for handicap improvements at the Legion Park.
Yep, we received 3 bids. The opening was a few weeks ago. I've provided you guys with this letter, kind of breaks down each bid and the total cost of the grant and what's provided within the grant. So we had a low bidder, which was TJR Excavation, and they came in with a base bid and Dock 1 within the grant. There was some alternates that we could also choose from, which would be an upgraded surfacing of the dock and also a concrete in lieu of a stone dust pathway. So tonight I'm just here to kind of discuss the board's decision on moving forward with the bid, awarding, and which alternates, if any, they would like to approach for this grant.
I'd just like to say that we have worked with TJR Excavation in the past. They did the work on the dam, did an excellent job, and I highly recommend them also.
Can I just ask, what's the motivation to try and alternate 2 with a concrete instead of stone dust? What was the thinking behind that?
The thinking was maybe wheelchairs would work better on concrete.
Well, there's 2 reasons for the concrete. One would be the lifespan of concrete would have less of a maintenance cost over the entire life of it. However, to put concrete back in there when it eventually needs to be done will be more costly than the stone dust. The stone dust, the biggest concern you'd have would be if there was a pothole, you'd have to go back out there and fill it in with some material or something like that you get from a local representative or something like that. So that has a little bit minor yearly maintenance of, any potholes, you have to fill those in, where concrete you wouldn't. But at the end of the day, to put concrete sidewalks in there now and then have to go back and put them back in 20 or 30 years when they start to deteriorate, the cost would be greater than just stone dust. Because with stone dust, like I said, you just go back out there every year and try to clean it up a little bit and make it look presentable. So that's kind of the difference between the two. That's why that alternate was included. That wasn't originally in the grant, but after talking with Howard about some things like that and lifespan and kind of how we could make this park, I guess, prolonged for the long haul, that was something we thought we may want to include and just see where the numbers came in. And with that, if you were to select that alternate, it would exceed the grant, so there would be a little bit of village funds that would have to be added into the project as well.
And so stone dust is ADA approved.
Yes, as long as it's compacted, it meets ADA standards.
Thompson Mazzarella is mostly stone dust.
Yeah, Thompson Mazzarella Park is stone dust.
Is there any questions on the bids?
The cement, Brian, would certainly be easier to maintain, right, during the winter time than the stone dust?
A concrete surface would be, because you're not worried about it pretty much blowing away as a plow or whatever you're going to use to clear it. So yes, in the wintertime, the stone dust would have a negative, con there. And salt does hurt concrete as well though, so if you put salt down, it can deteriorate the concrete quicker versus stone dust where it's just like having a gravel parking lot.
So if we did alternate 1 and alternate 2, it would exceed the grant by $16,850.
Correct. And I know part of the grant included some in-kind village labor force or pretty much a cash option, which would be $12,000. So that's also listed in there. That is an option if the board wishes to go that route. That was already kind of listed in the grant as a possibility. I have the award sheet here if you guys would like copies of that as well with the breakdown.
So they also mentioned that for TJR, there was no scheduling issues.
Nope, the contractor had called me beginning of last week and was kind of curious about when they could start. I know the biggest thing is the dock. There's about a 6-week wait on the dock. So hopefully we get it ordered and everything like that. But if you're speaking with TJR, he said it'd be about a week and a half to 2 weeks to complete all the work. The biggest thing will be the waiting will be the dock. So we probably have to come back and reinstall the dock once it arrived. But other than that, 2 weeks, he should be in and out.
So the goal would be to start, if we were to approve the bid tonight, we could start almost immediately.
We have to wait for a pre-construction conference with Douglas County, which I scheduled that for the first week in September, because that's when we need to have a contract executed with the contractor and the village. So that, we usually like to give a week or a week and a half for attorneys and everyone to make sure no one has any comments or questions with the contract. So we scheduled that for the first week in September.
And
So
the
we can start
completion would be,
we're thinking the middle of the end of September for the maintenance or for the ADA work. The dock would be once the dock is prepared and delivered.
but all the prep work for the dock would be there.
Absolutely. Yep.
And we just have to roll it in.
Yep.
And this is a dock that's going to be taken in and out by our highway department? Is that the?
That was the plan.
Yeah.
And maybe if it arrives too late, we can just wait till next spring to put it in the water, right?
Right.
You don't want to have a christening and test it?
I guess we could, yeah.
All right, so given is there no other questions?
No.
I'd like to make a motion to approve TJR Excavation and award them the bid for the Crystal Lake Park Improvement Project.
I have a second. Okay. And I have a question though. When do we make the decision between using concrete versus stone dust?
Do you have to do that tonight?
Well, let me ask you, we have to do more in-kind work?
Yes, if it would be, so if you go to the back of the sheet here, I kind of spelled it out, but it'd be $16,850 if you went with all the alternates for this project. The village would have to put that amount in. If you don't want to put any funds in, you could still do alternate 1, which is just the upgraded material on the dock, and you'd actually have a net balance of $1,600 left in the grant. That can be readjusted to cover anything else for any unforeseen items and things like that, as like a contingency or something like that.
And what's the dock decking right now? Is it aluminum?
It's aluminum for weight and I guess lifespan. They say it lasts a long time. The wood doesn't have a lot less of a lifespan. It's a hard wood. It's wax coated, so it's kind of made to be in the elements.
Mm-hmm.
It looks nicer, but again, it's just a cost, it's an additional cost.
Right. I mean, I would be in favor of the wood decking, but I would leave the stone. I'd leave the path of stone dust.
I would second that.
Because I think it's just a little more aesthetically appealing to the park there.
I agree with that, yeah.
And it keeps us within our bid price.
Right,
Yeah.
gives them the mid price, yeah. But I think having a when we saw those pictures of the docks, the aluminum docks, they were kind of eyesores.
Well, most of the dock is still gonna be aluminum. We don't want,
The ramp down, is that
the ramp is gonna be aluminum and the railings have to be aluminum,
To
right?
meet ADA, you need to have that 36, or you need to have the tubular handrails and stuff like that, where the wood, it'd be very hard to try to turn that to make a tubular style handrail, that would be ADA. So you have the handrails, and the gangway down would be aluminum, but the decking on the base would be all wood.
can you paint the aluminum?
Sure, could be painted. I think it comes stainless, if I remember.
Highway department, there we go.
I think it comes as like a raw, just a regular stainless kind of.
Right.
The wood decking, she's asked, is the wood decking heavy, which I asked you, and you said it's a little heavier.
It's a little bit heavier, but it's not an issue. I mean, from what the manufacturer told me, he has plenty of people that put these in on lake houses and things like that. And it's never been a problem. They come in sections, so it's not like one large deck. It would come in two like pontoon sections that would be set into place and connected. And they come with all the hardware to do that.
It's more like a Trex decking.
Right.
You're familiar with Trex, right? Yeah.
I don't have it.
Right.
I know somebody who does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I would award the bid with the wooden decking and without the sidewalk.
Agreed. Yeah.
Okay, so we can we'll amend it to say to award it to TJR Excavation for a total price of $98,350, which includes the stone dust and the wooden deck. Correct?
Correct, second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstain? Thank you, Ryan.
Your total cost would actually be
Oh.
$79,850.
All right.
Oh, sorry.
I was trying to look that up and she was saying it.
Does that include the engineering?
I'm sorry.
Is the engineering included in that?
So that would be just for construction. Construction cost of the grant awarded was $81,500. There's still an additional $18,500 for engineering. So the engineering and administrative work would all be still covered under the grant,
Okay.
and there'd still be funding left over for that. Like I said, there's about $1,600 left that could be adjusted to cover any change orders or administrative items.
Perfect.
Very good.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Ryan.
welcome.
Thank you.
Good job, Alan.
Thank you. And the engineering has all been settled, right? The costs with the county?
Yes,
Okay.
everything's covered.
Okay. We thought, so. Thank you, Mr. Laux.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is Farmers Market and a request to extend the season.
Did everyone get the handout that we sent in advance this past
Yes.
week? Okay. I'm Andrea Bartolomeo, the manager of the market. This is Ken Miguelli, one of our vendors and the board president. So you may be familiar, we've had the winter market in the town hall for the past 8 years. And this year we're looking to change it up and actually stay outside till the end of December, which would mean no indoor market January through April. So we'd be asking for a trial basis for this year, 5 additional dates, and see how that works for us and the village and anyone else who has input.
So it's a total of, the end of season in, what, November 15th?
The 18th is our current end date right now.
And you want to extend until December 31st?
Right, the 30th would be the last market, and we would skip the 2nd, which is the Sinterklaas weekend. So that would be 5 dates.
5 weeks, yeah, skipping Sinterklaas.
Right, so 5 extra dates.
It seems like trying it on a trial basis is certainly worth it.
Yeah, I mean, that's, well, but I think there should be a cost associated with this, right? I mean, we currently charge to use the municipal parking lot now under our contract agreement.
Right,
So essentially, we could extend, in a way, we're extending that contract for additional 5 weeks. Because we still have the maintenance responsibility and
Sure.
so forth. And our rate, I don't know what the rate is we charge right now for the contract. I know Pat and the clerk and I looked at
Yeah, we figured it at 6 weeks, though. It was 76.92 per week, what you're currently paying now for the 17 weeks. I forget how many weeks.
28.
28 weeks. At 2,000, 76.92 per week.
So
So do you extend it the next 5 weeks at that price?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
So they have to modify the contract again.
Yeah,
Well, we're
well,
thinking this could just be a trial for now, so I
Yeah,
don't know
so-
if that makes anything easier for this year.
yeah, so my thought, rather than, since we don't know if it's gonna continue,
Yeah, 1 month,
can we, I mean, we kind of briefly talked about this. It was an event application.
Correct.
So the possibility of, if we could do this as an event, for you know, a 1-day-a-week event for 5 weeks, and have the event application filled out and the fee for the event application be applied at that rate to cover the cost.
Yeah.
It would be approximately
What?
$77 times 5 is $385.
You're right. How's that?
I think that should be fine.
I can email you the event application,
Okay.
and do you want to make a motion as
Yes.
to?
Well, if there's any other discussion, any other questions?
So you're not going to be in the town hall during the winter?
No, we discontinued the market there.
I think it's kind of exciting, you know, to go to the market with light snow coming down possibly.
Yeah, it gives us an opportunity to have a lot more vendors when there's a lot more product and.
A different set of
all the
products.
Shopping, so.
My only concern is we're going to be tying up the parking lot over there during the holiday season, which
On
where you don't have
Just
parking
on
right now.
Sunday.
I know, Sunday's the weekend, everybody's.
I mean, we would normally have our winter market during December, and then people would be parking in the municipal lot anyway, or the vendors are, so I'm not sure how much of a change it
Well, you're
really is.
taking up half the parking lot over there,
Right.
so you're taking up half the parking.
Hopefully a lot more shoppers coming into town.
Summer.
I'm just thinking of the holiday season.
Right. But I would think that even holiday season is hard, I think it's more busy than it is in the middle of the summer or in leaf season. Right.
And it's a trial basis, so
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
we can see how it goes.
Yeah.
Did you consult with the chamber at all for their feedback?
I think Claudia, I've
Supportive.
spoken to her, she sounded, excited since this seems to be our only option at this point for the winter.
As long as she's okay with it.
Yeah, I asked her if there were any other events besides Sinterklaas going on, and she wasn't aware of anything that would really have a conflict with the weekends or Sundays.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we have an event application for the farmer's market to extend them from November 18th to December 31st, minus the weekend of Sinterklaas, which the parking lot is being used, for the current rate that we're of
$76.92.
$76 and some odd cents, right, per week for the use of the farmer's market. Yeah, all in favor? Do I have a second, excuse me?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstained? Congratulations. Welcome to the Winter Market.
Which email do I send the application to?
You can send it to mine, the info at Rhinebeck Farmers Market.
Okay, and then when you send it back, it has to have a certificate of insurance because yours ended probably with your last day, so it has to have a new certificate.
Okay, sure.
So I just thought something, what if it's really snowing?
I think we would cancel it then.
So
If it's-
you would cancel, or we can cancel if we can't get the parking lot cleared?
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, of course, if it's a state of
I just
emergency
thought
or
of
a
that
travel
late.
ban, then of course there's no market.
Okay.
And you sometimes call, if the weather's really bad, you cancel the market as it is.
We did once last
Once,
year, like when we were really concerned about high winds, so I mean, it'd be the same with snow, I think, and if it looks like it's gonna be ongoing and not safe for anyone or, profitable, then we're gonna call it.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, now we're going to open up for a public comment section. Is there anybody that's signed in for public comment? Pat? You don't want to stay?
Thank you. I have somewhere to be, though. Thanks.
Okay.
In the public comment section, we usually use the sign-in sheet for those who want to speak. It's not it's not a requirement for attendance. And so, first on the name, Donna Warner. Do you want to talk, Donna?
Yes, I would, but on a subject that'll come up later. Is that all right?
I don't know whatever you want. What do you want to talk about?
Short-term rentals.
So for the public in here, we do not have anything on the agenda tonight for
Right.
short-term rental.
And I know Brant's away. I just want to say off camera, hold on a second. I just want to say, I'm having a little vertigo, so if I hang on, I just might need to sit down.
Tony, you want to
Okay.
share?
No, I'm
Okay.
fine. I'll be okay until okay, good evening. My name's Donna Warner, 23 Beach Street, and I'm here to speak about a short-term rental flow diagram that was submitted to you all, to the trustees and the mayor by Brant Nuniker. I was very pleased to be here on July 9th at the last short-term rental workshop. It was a very positive discussion, and actually the mayor remarked as such in his monthly message. So I was very pleased too to offer assistance to Trustee Nuniker to create a flow diagram of the code proposals on the table as of July 9th. And I produced a draft that I later modified with Brant, or I should say Trustee Nuniker, to reflect the trustees' understanding of decisions needed and to show a range of views. However, I do want to clarify that the diagram that Trustee Nuniker presented to you is something I worked on with him as to help him. I later, but it was without my resident advocate hat. And I do want to say that that diagram does not represent the position of Rhinebeck residents for a family-friendly village, myself included. When Brant and I met, I learned that our understanding of outcomes from the last workshop differed considerably and on key points. So I have written up my comments and I will hand them out to each of you. And I have also talked to Trustee Nuniker. He was in town earlier this week. So he is aware that I'm here to speak to you and provide this clarification, putting back on my advocate hat for residents. So as shown in a resident version of the diagram, which I have attached here and will hand out to you, on July 9th, we heard a consensus, or a movement towards consensus, to limit the number of STRs, and I believe a proposal came from the mayor regarding limits, without specificity. And also, we heard a move or a movement agreement towards requiring special permits of all short-term rentals, and in both categories, B&B establishments and room rental homes. Special permits, we feel, are essential to enforcement, and neighbors who bear the burden of short-term rentals must be involved in the process, as would happen under a special permit process. I also want to note, because there seems to be some differences of fact about this, that the 2-year Code Commission draft, which was brought forward in October of 2016, and a later one, I have these copies from June 2017, both required special permits for both the B&B establishments, the 3 to 5 bedroom, and the room rental homes, 1 to 2 bedrooms. So there is certainly, the Code Commission thought that this was an appropriate use of special permits. I just want to mention, and I'll be brief, 2 other areas of concern. First, on the chart that Trustee Nuniker and I produced, it actually I think is very helpful, and it does show a range of views. And that was interesting because you can see very clearly on one piece of paper where all the decisions need to be made and a whole range of different options that have come up over time. However, my feeling is that the chart should have, as it does elsewhere, proposed options for room rental capacity. It's currently, and as it has been proposed from the original work group, 4 adults, 6 total, and we have discussed and recommended other options. One would be just paralleling the B&B establishment, which says 10 guests, and say 4 guests. That's a simple alternative. So second, we on the chart, and I'm sorry for the public that isn't seeing the chart, there it is showing room rentals, 1 to 2 bedrooms, as a sort of undecided, and that came as a really big surprise. Although I know there was discussion in February and March workshops of focusing on the number of persons who might be in a room rental home, possibly using persons rather than the number of rooms. The draft codes and the most recent village points to consider, that was the last document published for discussion, have consistently shown room rentals as 1 to 2 bedrooms. Changing the number of room rental bedrooms would be a major shift in this process, I believe, and in long-standing discrete code categories. Expanding the capacity of room rental homes, overlapping with B&B establishment, if there was any direction towards making that 3 bedrooms, for example, it would overlap, would increase neighborhood burden, would certainly create fire and safety code issues because they use 3 bedrooms as a separate and much more stringent set of fire code provisions, and it would introduce yet more enforcement issues. So I believe it would also it would galvanize significant resident opposition. So those are my comments, and I just wanted to clarify, again, using a chart that we produced that shows our recommendations, and we'll leave it for you. And thank you very much, and thank you for a great discussion on July 9th. Congratulations to Pat on her certification. Let's see, Mayor Bassett, Mayor Lewis, Mr. Trout, Mr. Rossi, Pat Kuhn, Brad Nuniker,
I can put grants in.
and also something, a copy for Mr. Fenton, if that's appropriate. And I just want to mention, what's in my letter is essentially what I sent to Brant, so he's well aware of it.
Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Eric Steinman? Eric? You not Eric? Nina?
Hi, 901 West Court in Rhinebeck. I just have a few words. I hope that as you draft the short-term rental code revisions, you keep in mind the long-term effect on the village of Rhinebeck of the words you use. Please make it clear that your investment is truly in this community and not in the short-term financial gain for select individuals. There need to be special permits for each kind of short-term rental. The homes must be owner-occupied and the rentals must be hosted. Do you want those words?
Thank you, Donna.
You're welcome.
Anybody else who wants to speak who's not signed in? Very good. That concludes the public comment session. We will go into the department reports.
Oh, I had an issue.
Oh.
I think
Sure, come forward, sir.
I had thought it would concern
Please go to the microwave.
the water
I mean, microwave. Yeah. Microphone.
Thought it would
Apologies
concern-
for that. And introduce yourself.
Alan Islam of 31 Chestnut Street. I have a water bill that has a $250 charge on it, which I had not at all, of course, expected. And I inquired about it, and I was told that we don't heat our basement. We do have a furnace in the basement. And last year, I guess it was the turn of the year, New Year's, Christmas time, there was a cold snap, terrific cold snap, and the water meter sprung a leak. I had thought that the water meter belonged to the water department and not to me. So I'm just wondering about the $250 charge. Is that something I must assume, or the water department could?
I mean, anyone can come. My suggestion would be that we have a liaison on the board to the water department.
Oh, good.
Who is Trustee Nuneker.
Uh-huh.
And unfortunately, Trustee Nuneker is away on vacation
All right.
right now.
Okay.
And I would really implore you to bring this up with Trustee Nuneker as a liaison, so he then can understand the facts associated with it, work with the village representatives, and bring it to the board so a decision can be made.
Thank you so
Is
much.
that appropriate for you?
That sounds exactly where I should have been in the beginning.
Yeah, unless somebody
I just want to know, is it fixed now?
Yes, it was replaced.
Oh, okay, by the water department?
Yes. Yeah. So Mr. Nuneker.
Yeah, Trustee Nuneker, yes.
Thank you.
I'm not sure, I'll be honest, I'm sorry, I don't know when he returns.
And how would I find him?
I have his card downstairs in my office. I can give it to you if you want to stop into my office tomorrow, and that has his email address on it. And you could also call, and every trustee has an extension, so you can leave a message on his voicemail and it'll go to him.
Thank you so much.
Hold any late fees in abeyance while I'm being figured out too.
Yes. So thank you for your concern, and we'll address it when Trustee Nuneker comes back.
Thanks so much. Yes, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda in the department reports is our treasury report. And this month, what I would like to announce is that typically after we file at the end of July, when we file a report with the state, our treasurer and CFO, Karen McLaughlin, creates a State of the Village report. So at this time, Karen, I'd like you to present the State of the Village report.
All right, good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you the State of the Village 2018 financial report for the Village of Rhinebeck. This report provides a glimpse of accomplishments and milestones made over the past year and informs you of what is planned for 2018-19. I am proud to be a part of the achievements, and I am excited about the forward progress Mayor Bassett and the Village Board are making for the future of the village. The finance officer is responsible for all financial accounting services for the village. Our office coordinates the preparation of the annual budget, the accounts payable, receivable, utility billing, financial reporting, purchasing, and investment of village funds. Financially, the village ended the June 1st, 2017 to May 31st, 2018 fiscal year consistent and/or better than previous years. We continue our fiscal stewardship with careful planning and mindful budget management. This has improved our fiscal monitoring score to an impressive low score of 0% on the New York State Fiscal Stress Monitoring System. So we have 0% fiscal stress in the village. The village
Fiscal stress, remember that.
Fiscal. The village concluded the 2017-18 year with revenues in the amount of $2,524,830 and expenses $2,191,355, increasing the village's fund balance by $333,475, bringing the unreserved fund balance to $1,009,952. It is the goal of the village to achieve and maintain an unassigned fund balance in the general fund at fiscal year end ranging from 15 to 25% of the subsequent year's budgeted expenditures. This fiscal year's target amount is set at 25%, $603,833. This minimum fund balance is to protect against cash flow shortfalls related to timing of projected revenue receipts and to maintain a budget stabilization commitment. When combined with the unused prior year's fund balance, there is an excess fund balance of $406,119. It is recommended that this fund balance, as surplus, be for one-time expenditures that are non-recurring in nature and which will not require additional future expense outlays for maintenance, additional staffing, or recurring expenditures. Revenues exceeded the budget as there were additional services to the village's cell tower and an increase in building permits due to business and growth in the village. In terms of expenditures, this year, a new fire truck, highway dump truck, and police vehicle were purchased. A portion of Montgomery Street and Astor Drive were paved. Here at the Village Hall, the improvements were made and storage shelving added for the clerk's records management program. The phone system, computer operating systems were also upgraded.
So which chart? This is the capital.
That's okay.
I can go back?
The pie chart.
The pie chart?
Chart
Ready?
number 1.
All right, just give me 1 second.
Sure. So this pie chart shows by department how your tax dollars were spent. Within each department is also the employee benefits by percentage of the department and the long-term debt applicable to that department. Getting back to the fund balance, this chart shows the last 3 years of fund balance. The second cluster is the recommended 25% of the subsequent budget. The 3 years ago, we were marginally below the 25%. See the two blue lines in the first cluster and the blue line in the second cluster? And the past 2 years show an increase due to additional revenue and holding the line on expenses. The water and sewer funds are self-funding through user fees, and the fund balances in these two funds have increased as well. However, these funds can quickly be depleted by a major event or need for costly repairs. The village has allocated $250,000 from the water fund balance to be applied to the $3.75 million water improvement project should a grant be awarded. A particular area of concern, however, is our aging water and sewer infrastructure. We are not alone in this concern, as this is receiving much attention locally, regionally, and globally. We are diligent in our pursuit to locate and repair and replace lines and pipes, as well as looking to the future for less costly, more efficient technology. Separate but part of fund balance are the balances in the capital accounts. 3 years ago, the village's operating fund was not in a position to budget transfers to the capital accounts. However, in the past few years, this has changed. As you can see on the chart, the decrease in the capital for the fire in 16-17 was the purchase of the Scott packs. Also notice in the last column, sidewalks, we had just established that account, and in that first year, we had just established that account, and that is now at $30,000. This year, a proactive approach in managing cash as an asset was initiated. In January, the village joined New York CLAS, New York Cooperative Liquid Asset Security System, a short-term, highly liquid investment program designed specifically for public sector funds. These accounts have yielded a much higher interest rate than the traditional savings accounts. Our current 2018-19 budget and the 17-18 fiscal activity of the village has been filed via the New York State Annual Update document with the New York State Comptroller's Office. This is public information, and anyone is encouraged to request copies for their review by simply contacting the Finance Office. We continue our appeal of transparency. So far, June 1st of 2018-19 fiscal year, Crosmore Road and Drive and Violet Place have been paved. A records management grant for digitizing records and bringing records and inventory up to date has been received. We will be updating the village code with the latest local laws, which will also be available on the website through eCode. An electric vehicle charging station has been installed here at the Village Hall parking lot and will be ready for use soon. The formation of a grant committee for 2018-19 brings a new aggressive approach to grant applications for trees, sidewalks, parks, an ADA-compliant lift at the Village Hall, electric vehicle charging stations, and a major water improvement project, just to name a few. 4 of these grants have already been awarded. Consistency and stability of the finances affords the mayor and the village board the opportunity to focus on pressing issues at hand. The village's financial situation remains strong, with the approved 2018-19 budget in line with the 2017-18 expenditures. I foresee little change in revenue and expenses this coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any questions on the state of the village? I'm sorry, I can't.
Can we ask questions?
Sure, absolutely. I said if you want to ask questions, please do.
I don't.
Yes,
From here,
go
I
ahead.
just wanted to, you said, I think if I followed you correctly, that there is an excess over of $400,000? Is there a prioritized list or a list of projects that might be considered to be prioritized? And what is the prioritization process?
So I'm glad you asked that question, because it's exactly what's on my mind. And what I believe now that we've established our fund balance policy, that now has given us the opportunity to consider these investments, and we maintain within that fund balance. I believe the board as a whole needs to make that decision, and my recommendation is that in the very near future, we hold a special meeting to discuss prioritization of expenditure, because there are things that we need to do and should consider, but I would like to get the board together as a group to have that discussion under a special meeting, to make that suggestion. Because as you heard, we have a tremendous amount of grant activity, thanks to the grant committee and Trustee Rossi going on right now, and all of the board, who is actually every one of the board members has contributed to producing grants this year, which is just absolutely amazing. A precedent that we have never seen in the village, in terms of the sheer number of grants that we're trying to seek, when both federal, state, and at the county level. Some of those come with not full grant coverage. And if we were so fortunate to be awarded those, there's the devil in the, right, that we need to deal with. Now we have to figure out what do we do. So in addition to some special projects, we need to also consider how we would handle if we were to be so fortunate to get some of these, because one of the issues as a village we need to be concerned about is our cash flow. And even though we may have enough money over the course of the year, at any one given time, we are outlaying cash to cover the expenses till we get the reimbursement. So that's of a concern of mine, and I believe also of our treasurer. so that we bring this forward, and sorry for such a long-winded answer, but I think it's important that we do that.
Yeah.
So this is a great problem to have.
Yes.
You know, and so at first I would like to thank our treasurer, Karen McLaughlin, and Chrissy Deneau, who also worked with our treasurer on doing the billing and the processing, and all of our village clerk, because everybody participates in this, as well as all of the departments that are headed by each one of the liaisons here to help manage these expenses that allow us to be in this wonderful state of the village of Rhinebeck where we're at. So my kudos to everybody on this.
Thank you.
Any questions from the board? Okay,
Thank you, Karen.
thank you. Do you want to go on with
With my report?
yes, your standard report?
My standard report.
Oh, excuse me, 1 second. So we will be posting this report online so that everybody has the opportunity to read it and study it, along with the charts will be posted in all of our media sites so that it's available for everybody to be able to see it. If there's any questions, I believe they can come to the village hall and also get a copy.
May I ask one more question?
Sure.
In terms of all the grants that are outstanding, their total and is there a list available of all the, I mean, that's on the website?
You are so good.
But I'd be interested in the matching
Yeah.
liability. Oh, it's right there.
So we, no, it's not, I don't have it here.
Okay.
I do have it on Google Sheets, but, yeah, so another great question, because what initiative that we took on just this past week was creating the master list and identifying the grant that we're submitting, the deadline for the grant, the award date for the grant, the amount that we could receive, that we could potentially receive, and our village commitment for that, which is all on. So yes, we can publish that information as well, because I think we now have it in a format that is suitable to go out to the public.
Copies.
Yes, you can also pick
I
up
can
a
copy
copy.
it if you want a hard
Oh,
copy.
I don't sound personal, it's more of just
I'll make it,
understanding what's available.
I'll put it out so it'll go out tomorrow onto the,
Thank you.
Yes, very good. Now, you're okay with publishing this?
Oh,
You were-
yes, as long as Karen, our treasurer, and yourself were.
Yeah, so I've reviewed it.
Yes.
We reviewed it together, so. And the board, it's been sent to the board, so we can publish that as well,
That's great.
right?
Thank you.
No, it's amazing, it's really a team effort.
It is, I mean,
Everyone sitting here has been engaged.
everybody is engaged, which is truly wonderful in this whole process.
Okay, the treasurer's report is for the month ending July 31st. The tax collector's account ended the month with $1,544,550.13. The general fund ended the month with $88,600.81. The water fund ended the month with $410,365.88. And the sewer fund ended the month with $406,503.32. Our New York class accounts are yielding 1.84%. The vouchers, including the prepaids that are presented for payment in the general fund, total $239,212.50. In the water fund, $37,569.51. In the sewer fund, $34,595.94. And we have a bill for the block grant for the Legion Park in the amount of $3,909.92. We have an escrow payment of $1,909.75. And we have a bond payment for the highway and police equipment in the amount of $22,200. An operating statement has been provided for the expenditures through today, through August 14th. And the water and wastewater, the billing and adjustments have been reviewed and signed off by the water and wastewater department liaisons. and are presented for authorization.
So I'd like to make a motion to accept the wastewater amendments as presented.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
And because Brant's not here, I'd also like to make a motion to accept the water department adjustments as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? I would also like to make a motion to approve the budget adjustments as presented by our treasurer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very good.
And I just wanted to make a quick clarification. In the general fund, the vouchers that are presented, the amount is high because we have the CHIPS project in there, and that will be reimbursed, which equates to about $120,000 at this point in time. And we also have $6,300 of the electric vehicle charging bills in there. Those will also be reimbursed.
I'm sorry, did you mention our Stella money?
Oh, and also we did receive the state portion of the Blizzard Stella money in the amount of $2,061. And I'm asking if the board would like to put that in the 3 accounts that they did the previous money, which would be the capital fire, the capital streets, and the capital police. That would be 3 divided, that would be $687 in each of those funds.
I make a motion to transfer that to the capital fund accounts for those 3 capital accounts.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very
Okay,
good.
it was from a prior year, and we weren't sure if we were going to get it, so I think putting it in the capital funds of those 3 is an excellent idea.
And what were the 3 again, please?
The capital fire, the capital streets, and the capital police.
Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to make another quick comment that, for the public, that there's a lot of effort by everybody in the village that goes to creating our agenda and putting all the reports and getting all the information together. That really all comes together today for the board to review and make a discussion. So again, I'd like to give kudos to everybody on the village staff that works so diligently, because this is our metric, which is our presentation to you, the public, and the amount of effort that goes forward from everybody, our village clerk and our treasurer and everybody else is really, is all for you, and as well as us. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everyone's finished with me? Thank you.
Thank
Don't
you,
you want to
Sharon.
stay? Thank you.
I'll go into the police report. I'm not going to guess this, but for total number of incidents in the town, this is for the month of July. I like to go through this verbatim, so it's good for everybody. Total number of incidents in the town was 34. Total number of incidents in the village was 130. Total number of tickets in the town, 12. Total number of tickets in the village, 82. Total arrests were 8, and total number of accidents were 13. I also like to note that the board had previously approved a new police interceptor, which is a new SUV. That was delivered on August 3rd and should be ready for patrol by the end of August. So for the first time, we will have really good cars that are now sustainable and reliable for our police department, and we replaced all of the older vehicles for them.
Karen, can you do that? You have to have that for approval.
Okay. Yep. I also like to talk about, because we received numerous requests about speeding within the village, and I did address this in my last newsletter, that it really is, our police department is working diligently to control the speeds and control the issues that we have on our village streets. And in particular, it's been brought to our attention that there's been several issues associated with Knollwood. Knollwood being in the school zone for a portion of that road. We are very much concerned about Knollwood to make sure that it's safe with the, school will be starting within a month, and that it's safe for all of our school children to be able to get to and from school safely, so speed is a major concern. It is a 25-mile-an-hour speed district on Knollwood, except for when you're at the school zone. In particular, it drops down to 15. We did set up a speed trailer earlier in May from noon to 7 p.m. and we used the speed trailer that has radar that really marked 318 cars, and the average speed, and this was in the 25-mile-an-hour zone, the average speed was 23 miles per hour. There were some vehicles, though, that were above the 30-mile speed limit. That was 80, and there was 83 of those, and the majority of vehicles traveled, though, between 16 and 30. So there is a little bit of a variance area in terms of if you give a ticket right at 25 or above, right? So, but 12 vehicles of 318 traveled at a greater speed than 30 miles per hour. And I would also like to report that within this period up until today, we also issued 5 tickets on Knollwood, 4 for speeding and 1 for running a stop sign. The speeding ones were speeding in a school zone and 1 for. So we take this very seriously for the protection of everybody and also the protection of our school children that will soon be coming to school. So.
Mr. Mayor, just a quick comment. I'm looking at the chart, and I know that the public doesn't have access to it. It's the 3rd tab on the Excel file, speaking to the very items that you were just discussing. It's a bar chart.
Yeah, but it's a detailed chart.
I think that...
I can show it if you would like.
Yeah, I think what's showing in the legend as legal is meant to be speeding, and that what's showing as speeding is meant to be legal. No?
No, because more people are illegal than speeding.
Oh, okay, that's not measuring the speed
No,
limit.
this number, the yellow is the total
Never
number.
mind,
Yes.
never mind, okay.
Okay.
Yep,
Are you good?
yes, thank you.
Fire department reports. For the month of July, there were a total number of 101 alarms for the fire department, 14 fire calls, 4 in the town, 9 in the village, and 1 mutual aid call. We had 81 EMS calls, fire ambulance, 26 in the town, 48 in the village, and 7 motor vehicle accidents. There also were 6 motor vehicles accidents, 4 in the town and 2 in the village. They did not get out to 22 calls, therefore the response was 75%. So that's for our police report. For other information, our chief is currently away on vacation, but we have adequate coverage, for while our chief is out, so we're all still in very good hands with that. And we also, for the fire department, would like to introduce 2 new members to our fire department, which I'm always excited about. Dan Kalin, who we all know, I believe, on our police department, right? And Joe Shell have both been approved by the fire department, the investigating committee, and are now active probationary members pending our village board approval. So I would like to make a motion tonight to approve Dan Kalin and Joe Shell as the current active probationary members to the Rhinebeck Fire Department.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very good, thank you. Trustee Troy, I think Joe is your neighbor,
Yes,
correct?
yes, Joe. my
Yeah, so
neighbor.
now you're even
Well
closer.
protected. No, but he's been a volunteer fireman for
Yes.
years, so
Yes,
I've always been well protected.
and he was in another department,
Yes.
yes. Building, planning, and zoning, Trustee Rossi. Is there anything you want me to show? You're good.
No, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Just the one additional item that we have is, and I know that the trustees saw this, it's an email from zoning enforcement officers Fenton and Pat, our village clerk, had the wherewithal and good thought to let's just put this into the meeting tonight. The hours of the planning and building office for the week of the fair, I'll just read them into the record real quick. Monday, this is during the week of the 20th through the 24th, 9:30 to 12:30, Tuesday, which would be the 21st, 10:30 to 2:30, Wednesday, the 22nd, 10:30 to 2:30, and we might actually have the building closed that day. Thursday, which would be the 23rd, 10:30 to 2:30, and Friday, the 24th, 10:30 to 2:30. So reduced hours that particular week. And the only other item that we have are some numbers. Yep. Sorry. So for the month of July, planning, zoning, and building, we had a total of 4 seal and municipal searches for a total of $500, building permits 13 for a total of $7,424.45, and 3 fees and approvals paid to the planning board for a total of $425, for a monthly total of $8,349.45. And that would be it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Highway.
Okay, it's a busy time at the highway department. I heard somebody refer to it as orange barrel season. That's kind of funny. So, they were doing a lot of driving. So we'll start with our standard highway department report. Basically, the department had its monthly duties of brush removal, maintenance, sign replacement, road repair, tree trimming, and removal. However, there's been a fair amount of special work that's gone on. First off, the paving of the 2 Crossmoors and Violet and the little stub of North Park was completed. And I'm gonna just get into a little bit here. The project did come in over our budget that we had initially looked at. And so I tried to get inside the numbers and see what happened. So basically, I went through all the numbers, and there were a couple main drivers of the situation. First off, we used about 15% more asphalt than we had anticipated, so that drove up costs. And the second one was that asphalt, which had been projected at $58.72 a ton, which is when the bids were being let, actually came in at $64.69 a ton. So the combination of using more asphalt and more expensive asphalt drove a fair amount of difference. In addition, we used more labor than we would have anticipated, about another day. And some of that was because we did some more work. Some of that was because we also ran into some bad luck. The shared services paver broke down. The town brought up their paver. They were working, but then we had a thunderstorm, so it delayed getting a bunch of the surfacing done. So what should have been a 2-day job wound up being a 3-day job.
And just so everybody knows that we have trucks and everybody lined up.
Right.
To pay for that, so that's what kind of drives a little bit of the labor cost, because these people are all scheduled to be able to perform this work, and then...
Right, and then we had to basically call them in for another day.
Yeah.
So that combination of factors pushed the final budget up. I have today it looks like it came in at about $120,000, which is more. Just to sort of take a look and see, I looked at the other bids that we had received from other contractors, and just to look at it, I figured, okay, at 15%, seeing as we did 15% more work, or 15%, would we have done any better on any of the bids? And the answer was no. That even if we add the 15%, if we do the 15% on top of their bids, we still come out ahead. Not by much, but at least ahead of the other bids. So we were over budget, which is a bit disconcerting. However, it seems like we were still pretty efficient. The good news is that we have about $151,000 available to us between our highway paving budget and CHIPS money and some other funds that come in from the state. So in talking with our treasurer, we decided that we would basically draw our state balance down to zero, which is approximately $116,000. We pay the rest out of our own paving budget, leaving us with about $30,000 in the budget, which then we would hopefully be able to increase next year, and we will have a fresh infusion of CHIPS money from the state. And the only thing I would say, I think one of the lessons learned is maybe we should pave a little bit less. A little bit, do a shorter, this may have been too many segments to do, maybe we should have looked a little shorter, just as an overall budgetary factor. But the work is done, streets are smooth. Okay, and so that was completed, yes.
Trustee Lewitt, a question and then a comment if I could. No one can predict what's going to happen with things involving nature and the weather. But the material, you said the asphalt was, if I heard you, it sounds like it was about 10% more than what we thought we would pay for the material. So,
okay, well, I can give you the quick answer is that we use the state list, so this is the cheapest you can get, I assume the county list. This is the cheapest you can get asphalt around here. The price of asphalt is dependent upon the price of oil and gets reset frequently. So when the initial bids when the initial bids went out, the price of oil is lower. And it's if you look at all the bid documents, it always says, it's dependent on, the price of asphalt changes. So it's a highly competitive market. We do have the county bid. So if that's the price.
Kind of a variable as well.
It's a variable, but at least we're getting the lowest price bid on that. So for instance, we had other bids that came in before at $71 a ton. So, which is even higher. And that was for the original bid document. So.
My comment, because I have the good fortune, along with my neighbor and fellow trustee, Trustee Trout, to be living on Violet Place, and so maybe I'm biased, but the guys did a great job. The crew, and in particular, what I want to reference was their ability to be really innovative and save 3 trees that we thought may very well have to come down on one of the neighbors. 3 trees that are in the right of way. They're beautiful trees that have been there for about 40 years. And the tree committee came out, and I won't go into the detail, but I watched what Mike and the crew did and how they engineered a very smart solution that took extra time, but it saved 3 beautiful trees in the village, and made people on the street and certainly the homeowner quite happy. And you couldn't help but to observe the heat was intense in those days, and more than one neighbor said, "Well, these folks they're earning every penny today."
It was there was a really good effort put in by the village.
Great.
And
Great teamwork with the town.
Also with the town, and I think when I think about this is our 2nd year working with the town in paving, and I think we applied lessons learned from the prior year to this year. So I think things were more efficient, the communication was better, and I know that Mike was, when I spoke with Mike, he was really very pleased with the job that the town was putting in. So that was good to see.
Thank you.
Right.
Sure.
So we talk about shared services all the time.
Okay.
So we talk about shared services all the time, and this is a prime example of how villages across New York State, but ours in particular, work very closely with the town of Rhinebeck and be able to take advantage of each other's services that we have to save each other money. So again, we're learning as we go through, but we're applying our principle to our projects, which is really great because we all benefit from this. We save money, the taxpayers save money, residents get streets, and hopefully we can continue this tradition again next year, which I think is the plan. I'm hoping that you will have a street list soon.
I have my hot spots picked out.
Okay.
I know you go by the county street list, but maybe if they're closer, you can pick a couple streets. That
It's-
might save time.
Well,
I got it.
there is an initial, what's called the mobilization fee, which is basically the cost for everybody to truck everything to the
Yeah,
location.
Right.
And we did not, I don't believe that we did not pay 2 mobilization fees. That we paid only one to get everybody to Crossmore. No, excuse me, somebody wanted to charge us 3 mobilizations,
Oh.
one for each Crossmore and one for over here. We only paid for one for the Crossmore and one over there. So, I did look at that at the very beginning, whether that doesn't make as much difference. Although maybe, it's worth it.
And it's ironic that the newest equipment broke down.
It's
You had to go back to the old equipment to use.
No.
The town?
They repaired the new.
They repaired
They repaired it?
Yeah, we did not use the
Oh,
old paper.
okay.
We continued to use the new paper. They were able to, that was a day downtime.
Yeah.
That cost us, and then the thunderstorm. Otherwise, we would have been finished ahead of the thunderstorm, right? Which would have cost us a day in terms of that labor cost. It is, the weather is what it is. And
Oh, yeah.
things happen, but again, I think this is just fantastic that we can continue to improve another portion of our infrastructure within the village for everybody. So, thank you.
Yes, I'm happy with my
Thank you.
smooth road, thank you.
Excellent, good. Hopefully the water's draining properly. Okay, a couple other things that are going on. I'm happy to say that with the persistence of our village clerk, Pat Kuhn, we have a signed contract to do the highway shared services study with the town. The county had awarded us this grant. It's about $45,000 back in the spring. There was a whole bunch of dickering over parts of the contract between the county, Rockport, all over the place. It took a long time to get it run to the ground. The village clerk was essential in making that happen. It has all happened, and paper's been signed. So within the next about 3 weeks, we expect the first initial meetings between the folks in Rockport, our village department, and the town highway department to come together. And Rockport says they can do it in about 6 months. So by the end of February, we would expect to have a full report about how we can even better share services with the town. So I'm going to bring that up. The other thing, a couple more things I want to do is, we had some discussion with the highway department and the police department to do a trial of some water-filled Jersey barriers. I don't know if people are familiar, the Jersey barriers are frequently, they're concrete, and they're put in construction sites or for crowd control. The idea is here that they now make basically plastic ones that can be filled with water. So you move them into place empty, you fill them up with water from the hydrant. They're in place, they can protect roads when the roads are closed. Specifically in a situation like Porch Fest, where right now we actually have a patrol car sits and idles at the end of the street to provide the barrier. So there's a patrol car and an officer with a car. Now what we can do is we're going to test this out, use these water barriers, lay them out, use the water barriers, and so we don't have to assign a police car and an officer there. So we're getting 4, we expect them by the end of the month. If we like them, we'll see how many we need, but we'll probably buy some more. They are on sale, they're under $300 right now. So we got a pretty good price on them. But it is
less than $300 a piece for this barrier.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and the man I spoke to said they will hold the price through the first of the year, until the first of the year. So that was very nice. The next more complicated thing I want to talk about was moving forward with our LED light program. And I sent a memo around to everybody, basically outlining, outlining the situation. In short, the situation is that we pay, actually I saw the actual is about $47,000 a year to Central Hudson for the rental and maintenance of our current streetlight system and electricity. Of that, only about $6,000 of that is actually electricity. All the rest is rental and maintenance cost for the streetlights that are up there. So there had been a movement to bring together a consortium of Hudson Valley towns to take a look at installing an all LED light system that each village would own. And the advantage of the LED light system is that it is much, much cheaper to maintain. We basically pay Central Hudson $150 per year per fixture for the maintenance contract. New fixtures are available for about $300, a little there, I think about $310 right now. And the LED fixtures, the going rates for maintenance seem to be between about $10 to $25 per fixture per light. So that's where there's an enormous savings to be gained. They do also use less electricity. So our electric bill would probably drop by $3,000 to $4,000, but the big savings. And also, the other thing is we would create a darker skies. I know some people can see the moon and the stars a little better. Lower greenhouse gas footprint, use electricity, use less electricity. NYPA, well, the consortium put together a series of bid documents that put out to private bidders. The private bidders did not come back with acceptable bids. So at this point, NYPA, the New York Power Authority, got involved, and they've been acting as an aggregator for this process. So basically, NYPA is proposing to towns, villages, and cities in the area that they will come in and act as a general contractor, basically, for this kind of project. They've already subcontracted out to an engineering firm, the design capabilities and such like that. So they will do that. So NYPA is offering to be the general contractor for the conversion. They estimate the entire project to be about $65,000. If we borrow the money from them, they're willing to lend us the money to do it. It comes in at about $79,000 or $75,000. Excuse me, $179,000. 170. NYPA's package basically says you can finance the entire project out of your current expenditure in your street lighting budget. So basically it would be, for the first 5 years, it would be essentially net zero to our budget. We would want to bone in the lights. After 5 years, that's when we would begin to realize the savings for installing the lights.
Of like $35,000 a year.
$35,000 a year, yeah.
After 5 years.
After 5 years, which is a nice chunk of change.
Right.
And the other thing about having our own streetlights is that it gives us more control over the lights, their installation, if they need to be adjusted. I know that there's been some issues around the village. Basically right now, Central Hudson puts up the lights, they hang whatever they have in stock, it goes up, we don't have much input. If we design the lights, we can actually say we want a brighter light here, we would like a less bright light over here, and if there are any problems, NYPA includes in the bid a tuning period. So the lights, these kinds of fixtures, they're made by Philips, they're probably the most popular brand right now. They have selective shades and lenses, so that if there's too much light spilling in one direction, it can be altered.
That's quite critical, that's
Yeah.
quite important.
And there will always be, in any of these projects, there will always be some tune-up time for it. So there are 2 documents that I'd like the board to authorize.
Rick, can I just?
Sure, the sign, sure.
2 things. The cost of the poles, $3,000 a year. So if we move forward, and there's lots of good reasons to move forward, we still bear some cost to
Correct.
Hudson, electricity, and the rental of the poles.
Correct.
We're replacing the fixture and the fixture arm.
Right.
Right.
So it's
Not the
$3,000.
pole.
is there any way to insulate ourselves from Central Hudson escalating the cost of the pole
I
rentals?
think,
So that at some point, maybe $3,000 is $8,000, and $8,000 becomes $16,000, and suddenly, our savings are being cannibalized by egregious pole rentals.
They would have to go through a little bit, they would have to go through the Public Service Commission to be able to do that, and so would have to go through a voting process for them to escalate that charge for the
Right, I mean, they would petition the
Yes.
the commission
Yes,
and be successful or not.
well, I think
But-
that, what I'll say this is that the Public Service Commission and everybody, New York State is very much pushing forward the conversion to LED lights wherever practicable. So,
No,
I would think that the Public Service Commission, if suddenly they find out
Well-
that the poll rates are getting jacked up and that's gonna be discouragement to converting to LED lights, I don't think they would do it.
Yeah, politically, I agree that we would hope that the regulators who are from appointments would be lobbying, advocating for us. But the real answer, I guess, to my question is that no, there's no way we can purely, we just have to.
I would say based upon history where I know that, for instance, Central Hudson was trying to raise another one of the rates, one of the small rates that they had, and the Public Service Commission said no. So as far as I understand, the Public Service Commission has been pretty active in trying to hold down any form of rate increases.
Yes.
So let me just make sure I know what we're talking, so I kind of
Okay,
wrote it out
good, okay,
here.
good, good.
Okay, we'd still be using Central Hudson poles.
Right, we have to.
Right.
Right.
Just replacing, like you said, the arm and the light. This rental cost from Central Hudson per year, does that include the pole?
No.
Okay, so are they charging us for the poles?
Yes.
How much?
$2,000.
Three
That's
per pole?
No, total for
Central
year.
Hudson.
Central Hudson annual.
Okay.
Yes. So when you look at I have a,
Because you got a post-conversion rental cost.
right, so the way Central Hudson breaks their bill down is, there's a bill for the fixture rental, there's a bill for the issues that you used, and then there's a bill for your poles.
Okay.
So there's three, they're itemized. So we would be losing, the rent, the fixture rental.
Right.
We'd be reducing the energy bill, the pole rental.
And the major cost goes into the fixture and the arm, not the pole, which is the
Right.
$150 per year per fixture.
Right, we have.
Right, I got that written down.
Yeah, I mean, the pole rental is, we have 246 fixtures. So
Okay.
250 to 3,000, that would be something with the pole rental.
Okay, so now, in your report there's, maybe I got these mixed up. There's one point, it says 163,000 cost to purchase our lights.
Right, so the way,
And then at the end, there's two other figures, 80,000 and 77,000.
okay, so the package is made of two constituents. This is an earlier document, by the way.
Okay.
The package is made of two constituents. Step one of the process is we would actually purchase the current streetlights from Central Hudson. And we've already asked Central Hudson for a price that actually came in at about $77,000, actually. It was estimated, about 77, it was estimated by Central Hudson up at 80. That was the cost of the fixtures. Okay?
Okay,
So those
two are together.
Right, that's together. Then the rest of the additional cost of the project is the new fixtures installation labors, and that would be the next let's call it $90,000. That's 80, and the other one is
Oh, so you're adding, well, where's the 163 come from?
okay, 163 was the cost of the project without financing. This is a slightly older document, so it's a little higher.
Okay.
So basically, what they said is, okay, here's the project. We think it'll cost you about $168,000. However, if we finance it, it's going to drive the price up to this. the 170 number.
In his one paragraph here, I'll read it to you, because in his note that he sent to us, it said, Central Hudson replacing them with our own system at $163,000, and a simple payback would have resulted 4.4 years. So the 163,000 divided by the 37,000, right? is
Yeah, I
4.4
understand that.
years. So that, but if we finance it through NIPA, it's an additional $6,000 finance charge through NIPA, which brings it up to 170,000, which takes us up to a 5-year payback.
Okay, but that's not my
4.9.
question, huh? I got the 163,000, then later on, you're saying 80,000 or 70, not you saying it, but, you know.
Right.
What's the difference between these two?
Well, this was NIPA's estimate to buy the fixtures. That's the actual that came in.
Okay,
The 77.
I understand, okay,
actually
those
came
two
in.
are together.
Yeah.
But how's that different than the 163?
This is part of that.
How do you get to the 163 from
Oh.
77?
Oh, okay. That is purchasing the new fixtures, it's construction costs, it's arms, it's the photocells, it's the infrastructure, and then it's the labor. So
Okay.
that's purchasing the new parts and putting them up on the poles.
Which is really NIPA's bid.
Yeah, although they're willing to do, with the financing.
They're willing to do it for 163 if we pay cash.
Right. And I did speak to Karen concerning what are the best ways to finance this. And basically, she thought NIPA's offer was really quite reasonable. That if you go for a bond, you might be able to get a slightly better interest rate. However, you have all the costs associated with going out to bond and all that
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And she felt, in some ways, it seemed like it seemed like a very effective,
You have them,
have them do the financing, and they do low financing, their state agency. So the other question is I sent Rich Olson the documents, and he sent me back the comments. Basically, his comment was, well, NIPA really writes the contract in their favor. No
Yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
That there were no deal breakers in that. He did note that there was one piece that could fluctuate.
agency fee?
The agency fee, yeah. And that would be if NIPA's crews wind up doing the work. But that, as far as I know, is not, that would be an emergency, basically an emergency. I can also say that right now, the village of Red Hook is already in the design phase. The city of Kingston has already, I have my list here, the city of Kingston has already signed on. Rosendale, New Paltz, Town and Village New Paltz. And then others that are signing this month are Hilburn, Ulster, Hurley, Woodstock, Catskill. So we would all be part of this group. And this is the whole point of the NIPA project, was they're going to get somebody to come up here and do it en masse.
So I think the outlying question though is maintenance. costs.
Maintenance. So,
Yeah.
okay.
What's my last thing here, see?
Okay,
Maintenance costs.
maintenance costs. So what's happening right now is that NIPA is actually putting together, again, they're putting together a bid package, and they're going out to the various companies to get maintenance packages for us. Some of the maintenance costs is going to be based upon how much installed base there is. Like if it's Kingston, Rhinebeck, Red Hook, and hopefully the town of Rhinebeck should be on this too. Obviously, the more installed base, the better off we are in terms of getting a good contract. Jeff Liano is our contact. Down on Long Island, where there's a large installed base, it runs about $10 a fixture. Not realistic that we get that here, but even if we take it, I use $25. $25 a fixture, so I more than doubled what they're getting for. We still come out really very far ahead. So it seems like from a financial point of view, from a ownership and a flexibility point of view, it seems like a really good move. The other alternative is basically have Central Hudson put in the lights willy-nilly, and we keep paying. So
Rick, that's actually, but only if trustee Trout has done. I just had another question, but I'm good.
No, I'm done.
Oh,
yeah.
and it was actually that, the do-nothing approach, take no action, leaves us at the mercy of Central Hudson installing LEDs.
Right.
Because that's the future of lighting everywhere, is LEDs, which all sounds good unless they don't do the tuning, and they don't do the tuning. My neighbor and trustee Trout's neighbor is a resident who has had a long-standing issue with the light directly outside of her home. We've all taken up the issue at some point or another. I've got documentation where I made a phone call, emails, to different parties inside Central Hudson, starting on June the 15th. I consistently have followed up, and my last contact with this individual within Central Hudson was just to the end of July, so it was 45 calendar days into this. And when I tell my fellow trustees and the mayor that I was politely persistent, reporting to the neighbor every 3 days, we were supposed to get a crew that was going to come out and just tilt it. Never happened. We were supposed to get a crew to come out and install a shield. Hasn't happened. The last contact I had with the Central Hudson folks, who were always friendly and polite and engaging, Mr. Rossi, I've spoken with our GE rep, and there is a house-side shield attachment available for our lights. The typical lead time is 8 weeks. So that was on June the 30th. Even if it is the 8 weeks, we're now at the end of September on something that I began. Right, yeah. Right, so I'm with you on this, because I think the alternative is this situation times 246, and there's a cost for that.
Right.
We've taken up some of this because our village clerk was getting calls, and rightfully so. I mean, we have a resident, a constituent that's unhappy and not getting any relief, and becomes our care.
Sure.
So I'm supportive of it. But I want you to kind of take us through this, the next steps.
So the resolution would be for the mayor to sign 2 documents, basically the letter to proceed, and what's called the master cost recovery document. And basically what that would say to Central Hudson is, okay, we're ready to go. They would then bring in their the design engineers would come in, take a look at our streetlights, bring to us a lighting plan.
I'm sorry, you said Central Hudson.
I'm sorry, Central Hudson, NIPA, I'm sorry, excuse me. NIPA, sorry, New York Power Authority, excuse me. NIPA would bring in their engineering firm. They would drop a plan for the streetlights. We would have input into the plan. If we decide we like it, we'd go ahead. If for some reason we do not like what's going on or something changes, essentially we would buy, we would be on the hook for the engineering plan, which would be about $6,800.
Right.
And we own the engineering plan, so we have an engineering plan for our lights. So that would be the next set of steps.
And if, unless I misunderstood, there is an exit ramp there for us as well.
There is an exit ramp there as well for us. And I think the other nice thing though is it could be done very quickly. Generally, the kind of projects that the New York Power Authority does on Long Island, they're numbering the tens of thousands of streetlights that they usually work in. I'm hoping that the town is also moving on this. Hopefully we'll get together, and so they'll come up with one engineer visit. Again, we'll be hopefully aggregating the installation with them, maybe with the village of Red Hook, I don't know. But that would be what I'd like to, that's how I'd like to go forward at this point. And I do think, in 5 years, $35,000 in our pocket
it'd be paid off.
Is a nice
The initial cost,
yeah, is a nice thing.
Nice revenue for the village,
Yeah.
additional.
So I'd like to make a motion to have to authorize the mayor to sign the agreement to proceed and the master cost recovery agreement with New York Power Authority.
Second.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any further discussion?
No, thank you, Rick, it was a lot of work.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? I'll sign the documents.
Great, thank you.
Move forward.
All right, one more, being orange barrel season, I got one more item.
Orange barrel season.
Orange barrel season. Today over at the Highway Department, we saw brought a demo of a vacuum truck for the village. This has been an ongoing issue. We have a very old rig that is essentially defunct and doesn't work very well.
You're talking about leaf.
Leaf pickup, yes.
Yeah.
Let me back up.
Yeah.
So it was a leaf vacuum truck. It was a demo model. So the situation is right now, the village picks up leaves. We have an old, people have seen the red truck with the vacuum. That does not work very well. It's questionable whether it will work at all this fall. Pick up leaves with that, not branches, not other stuff. Leaves with that machine, and then there are also the backhoes to pick up large branches and stuff. So we had a chance to view what was basically a demo model vac truck. It was off the New York State list. The listed price was about $192,000 for this truck. I did speak to Mike Wolf. I said, Mike, we have two issues. We have the brush pickup and the leaf pickup. Would you like to see a truck with a grapple or a truck with a vacuum? And his response was, I would prefer to have the vacuum truck. That he can both do leaves with it and also post-parade cleanups around here. But basically, it's a big vacuum and it has a big chewer. It's almost like a garbage disposal. It chews up.
Chop up some of the twigs?
It chops up some of it. I'm not encouraging anybody to put the
No, we don't want that to happen.
No, but it does, yes, it does chop smaller diameter.
Right.
Smaller diameter wood. The truck is set up as a dual control truck. So there's a driver's control on the right side. He drives on the right, and there's
That's what I showed you last year, right?
Right, and there's basically the hose, the vacuum hose,
Yeah.
is mounted on a
joystick.
boom, on a joystick, right? And the reality is that we'd still need somebody to walk with the truck and move the piles to make sure that there wasn't any debris in there that could not be vacuumed up. Right now, with our current vacuum truck, it's 3 guys to work the vacuum truck, basically, and it's kind of jury rigged. They say they go 7 times a day in and out dumping leaves. This is a much larger volume, so we by about half again, so it would cut down on the amount and it would grind better. So we have a chance to look at this. I would like to say that for our discussion and when we're going to talk about how to apply fund balance, that this might be an item that we want to look at. We have
Or a special meeting.
our special meeting, right? We do have some money in a capital account for highway, large vehicles. So this might be a place where we want to use this money. So I'm not asking for any motion, but I wanted people to be aware that this was out there and available.
This might be just a good time then to have the discussion to set that special meeting, right? If the board is in agreement that there's some key items that are coming up, like this truck that may not be available for a long period of time, that we could save money on, since this is, quote, a demo truck, but has not been demoed. It's up to us.
Right.
So there's an opportunity to take advantage of that, as well as maybe some other key initiatives. If we could set this project and talk about the sequence of the grants, as well as any special projects that we would want to move forward on, or equipment purchases based on a priority.
And I would like to, I did some preliminary kind of costing out manpower versus stuff, but I'd like to take a little deeper look as to
So how,
discuss.
when would the board like, we have Fair Week coming up, so
Right.
We all look at our calendar. The fair is what? 21st to the 28th? Is that the fair?
21st to the 26th.
26th.
Yeah. That's,
21st.
I'll go sometime after.
Do we think August 29th would be agreeable for everybody?
Is this just the board?
For the board, yeah.
Oh, okay.
As a
Yeah,
special meeting.
Yeah.
Sure.
That'd be Tuesday, the 28th.
So Tuesday, the 28th.
That's what I'm proposing, yes.
That would be okay with me.
Okay.
I'll look at the calendar downstairs to make sure.
Yes,
that there's any
should we put up a reserve date, a backup date?
Well, if it's just the board, well, the public can still come to my office if we had to.
Right, the public's always invited,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
All right, so tentative, we're going to be tentative that we'll have our special board meeting to discuss grants as well as any special projects on August the 28th at 7 o'clock here at Village Hall. Okay? Great.
Great.
It's fantastic that
As long as we can get the
do this.
Will that be short-term rental
Oh,
discussion
no.
that you'll be having?
I'm sorry.
Will you be talking about developing your code?
No, this special meeting will only have one purpose, will be to discuss our current posturing on our grants as well as any special purchases that we want to wait to prioritize them.
Okay.
So that'll bring Orange Barrels into a close.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
anything else?
That's it.
Very good. There is no report from the water department this month. Does anybody have anything from the water department that they want to report in trustee Nunaker's absence? No. Moving on, wastewater department.
Yes. Wastewater treated for the month of July was 4.1 million gallons. Gallons of sludge processed was 28,400 gallons. And pounds of sludge processed was 4,002 pounds. I'd like to talk about possibly changing our classification from 3A to 2A.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes. The rest of the board probably needs to be brought up. To
Yeah,
speed.
okay. So currently we have Camo Pollution Control. Mike Tremper is assisting us with our wastewater plant because one of our employees left. And we had a meeting, the mayor, Mike Tremper and I, and...
It's Camo and Camo Engineering,
Okay.
which is the name of the company that's providing us.
He must have changed it over the years.
No, it's always been Camo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I said Camo Pollution Control, right?
Camo Pollution Control, that's it.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you,
Oh, that's what I thought I said. Anyway.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so we had a meeting with John Fenton, the mayor, and I, and Mike Tremper from Camo Pollution Control. And at that meeting, he brought to our attention that we really don't have a 3A plant. We have a 2A plant based on, here you can pass these down, based on a formula that they go by, the state goes by. There's two separate reports there.
That's okay.
One's from
Let's go 55.
years ago, and this is the one that Mr. Tremper came up with. Do you want a copy too?
I will read
Okay.
that.
So one from 2000 and one from
yeah, one's
2019.
when we went to 3A and the other one's now.
Right, so on this list is a different equipment that a wastewater plant would have, and each one is assigned a number. A lagoon is a 3, so on. Anyway, if this number is under 57, you're a 2A plant. Now, Mr. Tremper came up with a number of 52 for us, and a previous number we had was 54, so both of these are under the 57 threshold. So, Mr. Tremper is recommending that we go through the process of recertifying our plant from a 3A to a 2A. Now, this has to be approved by the DEC, and John Fenton has agreed to work with the DEC to work on this reclassification. So I'm asking for the board's approval. You want me to make a motion?
Now, you know, so let's have some more discussion about it, in case there's questions.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so let's have some, because I'm going to inject a comment here that we should call it what it is. It is not a 3A plant. It really, maybe it was at some point in time, but for the record, it is not a 3A plant. And so it's really misclassified today. And so given that, my recommendation is that you have two choices. You can move forward to make it a 3A plant by buying and installing the appropriate equipment that would reclassify it, or we can call it what it is and make it a 2A.
And let me just point out that the classification is based on the equipment, not the capacity.
Yes.
And currently, we are at probably a little over half a capacity, so it has nothing to do with our capacity. We've got plenty of capacity to bring on more projects.
This has been sort of an issue of debate.
Right.
And
For
so,
long-
I'm personally happy to see something that is a means of documenting the correct characterization of the plan.
Right.
Right, this is not us coming up with it, this is a state
Right.
form, regulation, DEC regulation, whatever it is.
So there's also a concern that somebody brought up a while ago, which delayed all of this, that said you never want to go backwards, because if you ever want to go forward again, it's a lot of red tape, to use the words. But in actually having the discussion, it's not that hard. If you classify yourself by having the right equipment, you file the form, that you prove that you have the right equipment, it gets inspected, and we become a new 3A plant. So it's not that difficult, either change us from a 3A to a 2A, or if sometime in the future we do need to go back up to a 3A, because we want to add additional equipment to support that effort, we can do that. So, not that hard.
No.
In my opinion, we gotta call it what it is.
Right. And thank you for running this down.
Yeah.
It's always been sort of floating around.
Well, yeah, it's
so to
just-
speak.
Yeah, it has been. We've been, yeah.
But this brings it to closure.
Well, for part of it, yes.
Well,
Yeah.
Part of the
this
problem,
issue, yeah.
yes.
Does it also affect our ability to hire personnel? Because it's easier to find a 2A operator than a 3A operator?
Yes.
We have a 2A operator.
We already
right
have.
Yeah.
now. Yeah. So we don't have to go through the process of trying to get a 3A operator, or wait for our 2A operator to get his 3A license, which would be about 2.5 years.
Okay.
So yes, trustee Trav, I would love for you to make a motion.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion based on the evidence we have at hand to reclassify, to go through the motions of reclassifying our wastewater plant from a 3A to a 2A plant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Abstain?
Thank you.
This is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is we still need an employee for the wastewater. Speaking with John Fenton, I think I've mentioned in the past, he's recommending we hire either a part-time employee for the wastewater or one employee that could be shared with the water department and the wastewater department.
Camo Pollution Control, though, recommended a full-time laborer that we could train, so there is another option.
Okay.
Right, so to still maintain go back to the staffing level that we were, but have another operator that we could start through that training process. Because let's face it, people change, times change, and by having somebody that we can start bringing into the system, start from the bottom up, is an option to consider.
Of someone full-time.
Yes, it would be an operator, though,
Yeah.
trainee operator, bring on.
So I'd like to make a motion to,
Well, there's two parts, you want us to address both parts of this, so the first part is, we'd also need, what are we gonna do about our chief wastewater operator? The position, we have an open position currently for a
Right.
chief wastewater operator.
right.
Now, we need someone with a 2A.
Currently, we have an employee that has a 2A license as a wastewater operator.
Oh,
By civil service rules, though, we still have to advertise this job,
Yes.
right? We have to not advertise it publicly, but we need to post it internally,
Per UPSU, we have to post it internally for 10 days.
10 days.
If it's filled within that period of time, or you have a candidate, then it does not have to be posted
Which
externally.
after the 10, after, publicly, yes. So we can then choose, somebody, obviously, somebody has to apply for the position. We can't sit here and make the motion.
No,
So,
what I'm saying is, don't we have to wait till we get reclassified as a 2A before we,
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, sure.
so my mo,
Just to get all the cards on the one day.
right. So my idea was to hire somebody, because we need somebody now at the wastewater plant. As a trainee, whatever you want to call them,
We're doing
operator.
the same thing if we don't get approved, which I think is highly unlikely, that we don't get approved, we would not be in a position to hire another operator because we would not get approval, and we still have to go back forward to where we were before.
Do we know how long the reclassification takes?
No, that's the problem, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah,
So-
so if we want to wait till, keep going as we are until,
That, and just, the problem with that is, we're running with 2 operators that are running 7 days a week, full-time.
right, that's what I'm trying to,
Yeah.
Fine.
So I just trying to get all the cards
Yeah.
out for everybody.
yeah.
Yeah.
That we know. I mean, we can take the risk, because I think the risk is minimal in terms of posting for an operator at the wastewater treatment plant. But we have to, as a board, set a salary, which we haven't discussed for that.
Well, maybe we can discuss do we discuss that during executive session, salary?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
So maybe we can do all that tonight. We have an executive session tonight?
Yes, we are.
So then maybe we can put our recommendation at our next meeting, which is hopefully going to be August 28th.
August 28th.
Yeah,
I like that.
okay.
I like that plan a lot.
I guess the one thing I'd like a little bit, as we go into it, is just a little more clarification between the 2 options, between somebody full-time or somebody who's going to be split time, what all that entails, what's,
Yeah, so
What's better,
I think we need to
understand.
have, I think we need to have our executive session discussion because there's some other issues that I want to bring up during the executive session that may factor into that decision-making process.
Okay,
Okay?
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
okay.
Good.
So that's it for the
All right, so
wastewater.
we will move on that, an executive session, and then that'll be another agenda item for our August 28th meeting. Okay?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to make a motion to accept all of the department reports that have now been read and discussed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very good. Thank you. Moving on. Tree Committee.
okay. Tree Committee received 2 applications, one from the Beekman Arms and one from 11 Somers. Turns out that the application from the Beekman is not within their jurisdiction. That's actually part of a site plan, which is in front of the planning and zoning. So that has been withdrawn. There was also an application from 11 Somers Drive. There was a London plane tree planted this spring. It was hot and dry earlier in the year. It looked like the tree was not going to make it, so the homeowner wanted it removed. But there was some growth on the tree, so the tree commission would like to give it a few more months to see if the tree can get established. So it was all of so there's nothing to move on.
It's interesting because that tree is across the street from me,
Yeah.
and that growth just recently came out, and it's kind of astonishing that it's
So raining.
Yeah.
regenerating itself because it did look dead as
Oh, is it dead as dead? Okay, I hadn't seen it in a while. The tree committee is focusing its planting for the fall on Chestnut and South Streets. So they're going to be, they'll be out canvassing the homeowners to find out if they would like to have the village plant a tree.
Chestnut, Willow Street?
Chestnut and South. The date is potentially November 3rd. And the tree commission was also out doing some maintenance, suckering some newly planted trees, basically removing low growths that would grow high. And also, I think we reported last time that Chairwoman May Crawford and Trustee Rossi completed a grant application for a tree inventory grant, basically for money to do an inventory of our trees here in the village and in the town cemetery. It's a 100% grant if we get it, and that's in the first step to having an urban forestry program, which then actually has the state help us pay for some of our tree maintenance. So that's been completed, that's in. I'm not sure what the return date on the grant is.
December.
Okay,
It'll be a while.
gotcha. So
Not that far.
that's it. So that's it for the trees.
All right, there is no ethics committee report, no short-term vacation committee report, and so then moving to the environmental committee report, which I'd like to have 2 items to discuss. Pull this up a second. First is, I mentioned previously our food recycling and composting program that we're going under. We have a survey that's been distributed publicly to the Village of Rhinebeck, the Town of Rhinebeck, Town of Red Hook, Village of Red Hook, and Village of Tivoli on composting. And it goes through a series of questions, so again, I'm encouraging everybody to take a look at that and respond. As of our last meeting on 7/31, there was 195 respondents. We have another meeting scheduled for August 20th, which we will conclude the survey and issue a report. But as of 7/31, most of the respondents were from Rhinebeck. The village predominantly overwhelmed a lot of the other areas in the village of Rhinebeck. And we're really trying to push for the other villages to also weigh in, which is Red Hook and Tivoli. Additionally, most of the respondents lived in single-family homes, which responded, to that. So the majority came from single-family homes. We have a breakdown of 164 of the 195 that were single-family homes, and the rest were other establishments. Over 80% of the respondents have currently used a private hauler, and 14.4% were not using any. And the average person uses 2.3 garbage bags per month on an average, which includes all of their waste compost. And we could significantly reduce that with composting by separating the food portion out. So the net of it is, we're going to continue to have discussions to see where this goes, to see if, again, it's an intermunicipal opportunity to look at doing something jointly and possibly using the village of Rhinebeck as a pilot for a compost project to do. And as I mentioned, our next meeting is August 20th. I also talk about our initiative in terms of water. Out of the environmental committee came our Hudson 7, which is our intermunicipal agreement for the 7 municipalities that draw their water out of the Hudson River. We are now in regular business mode. Yours truly, myself, have been elected as the chairman for that council. The vice chairman is Supervisor Jay Baisley out of the town of Poughkeepsie, and the secretary, excuse me, I don't have a secretary, is Emily Svensson, is a councilwoman for the town of Hyde Park. We've taken up a lot of discussion in terms of again, focusing on grants that are combined intermunicipal grants that we could proceed with to the state level and see if we can merge possibility of any of those activities together to see if we can do that. And we're working on our bylaws and our infrastructure to do that. I also want to then talk about transportation, because transportation was one of the initiatives in the environmental committee, and we now have collaboration with the grant committee on our pedestrian and bicycle path grant that I believe Trustee Rossi may mention, and further that is now in the process of being submitted. And we are also working with the town of Rhinebeck to connect the gardens with a pathway to the village. So that's under discussion. There was no meeting in August due to vacations, and the next meeting is scheduled for August 6th. And one last note, which was mentioned in our treasurer's report, one of the initiatives came out of this was on energy, and part of that was the electric vehicle charging stations, which we submitted 2 grants for, and I'm happy to say that we have actively turned on the electric vehicle charging stations behind Village Hall. So they are not online yet, but they are functional and can be used. We're in the final stages of adding a light back there for them, because that area is not lit, which needs to be done. We're being very particular about the light because we don't want to light up any of our neighbors' yards and have any do that. So we're looking at very close downward lighting on the chargers. I encourage everybody to take a walk out and check out our EV chargers. There's 2 for capability charging 4 cars that went live yesterday. One charge went online yesterday.
Wow.
Which is nice. So again, thank you for everybody for doing that. So that's the environmental report. There is one more issue, which is a resolution. I don't know if anybody is seeing the current proposal by New York State in terms of storm surge proposal. I'm not going to read it. It's a very lengthy, but I'll summarize this. Basically, what they are proposing now for the Hudson River is to put in flood control gates at various points down the Hudson River. Again, this is another one of those initiatives that is being pushed forward very rapidly without a lot of public input. And I would like to pass a resolution tonight that basically says for the coast, it's really for New York, New Jersey harbor and tributaries, the coastal storm risk management feasibility study be delayed till more public input can be applied to this discussion. I think this is important because this will dramatically change everything in the river by putting in essentially gates that will close on the Hudson River and then can be opened back up. Now we have life within the river, tidal action in the river, everything else. And so this really needs a lot of discussion, and I would like to submit this resolution that this be delayed until we can have a effective public hearing and discussion on this. Any questions?
This is almost like a Venice thing where they're going to have these giant barriers that pop up when there's a storm surge. That's what they're talking about.
I know. There's a map that I can just send out to everybody that shows where they anticipated gates would be. There's none quite near us, but we would definitely be affected by this. Any questions about our storm surge resolution?
So we're saying we don't want the gates? I'm trying to read all this.
What we're saying is we want to have more public input
Right.
and a longer period of time before a decision is made for this. That's what we're saying.
Yeah, that's what they're talking about. Is it $30 to $50 billion job?
Yeah.
Yes.
But the full,
It's not that
I'll
long.
read, Trustee Trout, if you go to the last section, the full range of impact must be considered before the 6 alternatives have been narrowed down. Before any alternative is eliminated from consideration, potential impacts for each alternative should be studied in relation to the following: tidal range, migration of fish, abundance of native current existing fish species, abundance and distribution of all mollusk species, current potential commercial and recreational fisheries, endangered and threatened, concerned fish and
You don't have
wildlife,
to read it all.
okay. Vegetation, birds.
Yeah.
It's just
It's the first time I saw it, so I just wanted to make sure I knew what I was voting on.
why, and I'm also taking this forward to the Intermunicipal Council for the Hudson 7, for them to also pass a resolution at our next meeting at the end of this month, because this does have an effect on our water quality and our harbor, rivers, and our bays.
I haven't read this, I'm not going to read it, so I'm vesting all my faith in what you're telling me, which I do with great confidence, but I don't, who is this going to?
It goes to, in the beginning here, Basil Seagulls, who I've already been in contact with, who's the Commissioner of New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and New York District, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and the Watershed Protection Environmental Analysis Branch, and et cetera. So really, the key person is Basil, who is the Commissioner of New York State Department of Environmental Conservation.
Can I just ask you, Mr. Mayor, who actually wrote this?
This is actually written by a collaborative group in conjunction with River Keepers to produce this resolution.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
So I'd like to make a motion that I sign this resolution.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Abstain? So carried. Thank you. Very important. Parks Committee. No, anything on the
Well,
parks?
no, whatever we spoke about earlier.
Okay, very good. Grant Advisory Committee.
So when we were last together 4 weeks ago, we were on the verge of what I'll characterize as a surge of grants available to us. And I'm glad that earlier the question came from the community, from the public, that the mayor did a great job answering that. Look, what we're doing is marrying these grants to the projects that we most desire, and in many cases we need to do. And the list or the summary that we also discussed a little bit earlier, I think off the top of my head, we have 13 different projects. We have more than 13 projects in the village. We have 13 projects that we have now tethered to some sort of a grant application. Some are already been approved, as Trustee Trout mentioned, and of course the EV charges, and others are in different phases of the process. But those 13 projects represent about, off the top of my head, about $8 million in projects. And they're projects that we, as a municipality, we obviously care a great deal about, the things we discussed tonight. Water infrastructure, wastewater management, our parks, our trees, our sidewalks, and the grants that we're pursuing tally to about 6.6 million. So that's a good ratio. And since our last meeting, back in, this is July, right? Back in July, this is August.
Yeah.
We've done 5 grants, and that includes one that I need the board to support this evening, a piece of it. The most immediate grant that we have in front of us is the largest one, is the Department of Transportation. It's the sidewalk rebuild, and that application is due in about 48 hours. And we have all questions in the narrative completed. There's 60 individual questions, and there's also a requirement for 6 mandatory documents to be uploaded, including the one I hold in my hand, and as well as 3 additional non-mandatory, but you got to do them, even though they say they're non-mandatory. But it's just this particular upload is our statement to the grantor that, yeah, we can cover our piece of it. And we do that either through a formal resolution or a letter of intent. And I did meet with the mayor and our treasurer, and we we composed a letter of intent that the mayor really rightly delegated to Karen, to our treasurer. And Mr. Mayor, you want me to just read it out loud to the, I don't know.
Or you can summarize it if you would like.
So it's a letter of intent that the mayor would sign, and it states that it lays out the requirements of the grant, that you have to be able to have this provide proof of a match assurance. Our match is 20%, but it's actually 10% because we're allowed to take 10% from another grant. And you know, that's part of what we're doing. So this Department of Transportation covers 80%, leaving the applicant with 20, but the applicant can fill their 20 if they can find another grant to apply for, which we did. That one's already done, leaving us with 10%, and some of our 10% can be complied with through in-kind services, meaning we know we're gonna need our highway department for some of this, so that would even marginalize our 10% even more. As mayor of the Village of Rhinebeck, on behalf of the Village Board of Trustees, I submit this letter of intent in compliance with the requirements as asserted and defined. And that's all I need, assuming that the trustees are all comfortable with it. I'll ask the mayor to sign it. I will scan that, I will upload that tomorrow morning, and Mr. Mayor, then we will submit the entire application. But that document is the one item that we need.
So do we need a motion to have Garrett sign it, or?
I think that's probably
I think it should-
appropriate. Yeah.
Because it is a letter of intent committee mark.
Yeah.
John had started the motion.
So if I can make a motion that we have our mayor execute the letter of intent so that we can move forward with our 2018 Department of Transportation grant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Signed and delivered.
Actually,
It goes
No, it goes that way.
thank you. Thank you.
Send it in to our clerk for.
I think knowing that we have another meeting in a couple of weeks, there's no reason for me to go a deep dive into all the grants, other than that, this now will make number 5 that we've done since our last meeting. So since the middle of July up until today, including this one, we will have done 5 grants. And those 5 grants come to about $4.9 million. We've done $940,000 in grant applications already. This one is 3.95 million. The only other thing that I really want to do is, if you said to me, what's the most important thing about these grants? Obviously, getting them in on time, complying with all the different piece parts, being compliant. And an observation that I only have now is getting community support. In some of these grants, first of all, that's no longer an optional question, that's a mandatory question. And it's quite clear to me that the more community support that you can provide, I think the better your chance of your grant. Look, if I was reviewing grant applications and Trustee Trout submits an application with 6 letters of support, and Trustee Lewitt sends in the same competitive, and these are all comparative grant applications, with 2 letters, that's going to compel me, I think. I don't think I'm misreading it, that in some of these grants, the CFA grants, which we'll all do on July 27th, that's the first question. Once you identify who you are, the very first question is, so let's see your letters of support. I'm not sharing the letters of support, but I would like to, and I'll read it quickly. There are 20 letters of support that we collected. When I say we, I mean everybody here at this table contributed. And I also would have to say that Claudia Cooley did a tremendous job helping us, Mr. Mayor, get these letters of support. And on my committee, someone who just joined the committee, Michelle Mooney, was very, very instrumental in helping Claudia reach out and get these. So I'm going to read the names, and then Pat, I have this already uploaded, so we can just make it more formally, if that's okay. Because I think that people take the time to give us a letter, we should take a moment to say thank you. Claudia Cooley, Executive Director, obviously of the Chamber of Commerce, Senator Sue Serino, Assemblyman Kevin Cahill, Howard and Chris Jacobs, business owners of the Amsterdam, Allison Gus, Rhinebeck Farmers Market, Johnny Lahane, another local business, Hudson Valley Startup Fund and co-founder of Co. Charles Derbyshire, another local business owner, Old Mill Wine and Spirits. Denise George, President and CEO of Northern Dutchess Hospital, gives us a stellar letter. Deidre D. Albertus, President of the Rhinebeck School Board. Joseph Phelan, the Superintendent of the Rhinebeck School Board. Elizabeth Binzia, our Rhinebeck Town Supervisor. Greg Swansea, Executive Director of Winnicke Land Trust. Gabrielle Marsigliano, local resident and owner of Construction Management Consulting. David Miller, the President of the Rhinebeck Historical Society. James W. Claus, the treasurer from the Montgomery Post, 429 American Legion. Andy Imperati, the president, CEO of Dutchess County Fairgrounds. Mary Kay Verber, she's the president and CEO of Dutchess County Tourism. May Crawford, chair of the Tree Committee. Michael Haggerty, president of Friends of the Rhinebeck Cemetery. Suzanne Kelly, vice president of the Friends of Rhinebeck Cemetery. And our own Rick Lewitt, who I prevailed upon to do a letter for our tree inventory as not just a village trustee, but the liaison of the village tree committee. So 20 individuals altogether, and as you can tell from the titles, quite a breadth of and scope of professionals in business and education, and many thanks to all of them.
Yes, thank you.
That's
Thank
it.
you for your efforts. Okay, moving on. The Emergency Preparedness Committee, our village clerk contacted Frank Aravello, our emergency coordinator, and he said, basically, I'll just read in summary, he's been on vacation, has not had a lot of time to really put together his Emergency Preparedness Committee, and he will focus these efforts after Labor Day to do that, which is next step. So he will be actively involved in the preparation and the emergency preparation meetings for the Dutchess County Fair, which will be starting and be sitting in, as well as myself and our Sergeant of Police will be sitting in on the daily briefings each day for that fair. And that concludes the emergency. The next is the Veterans Committee, and several months ago I reached out and formed a Veterans Committee, which we talked about previously, and since have had 2 meetings with the Veterans Committee. Veterans Committee, basically to summarize, is made up of veterans, and the objective of the Veterans Committee is to look at recognition events for all veterans in the village of Rhinebeck, and to come forward with recommendations for a plan. We discussed many things but the consensus was that we really want to focus on putting a new flag pole over by the Doughboy, where there currently is not a flagpole. And I did reach out to, which is a company called Uncommon USA, which is used by the Dutchess County Fairgrounds for all of their flagpoles, to receive a quote from them. And then I reviewed this with the Veterans Committee for their approval. And we've agreed basically that on a location if you're standing in front of the Doughboy, it would be to the left. There's already a little walkway that goes back there. It's a brick walkway. At the end of that walkway would be the flagpole. So it's kind of already marked out, and it would be a 25-foot flagpole, not a telescopic, a standard flagpole, and it would be capable of holding 2 flags. I can go into details to it, but the net of it is it's $1,300 for the flagpole, plus $400 for shipping to do this. It's approved for our area. I also met with our Superintendent of Public Works and our Building Inspector, John Fenton, to make sure there was no issues in terms of installing a flagpole at our municipal parking lot, to make sure that we met with all the rules within the village in terms of height, guide wires, etc. And basically got his agreement that we are okay and clear to move forward if we so choose to want to put a flagpole at that location. So I would like to ask the board for the permission to 2 things. One, to spend the approximate $1,700, because the shipping is estimated at $350 to $400 for the flagpole and its delivery, and then to use our own highway department and subcontract out, which we have specs for doing the installation, and with the target of having this completed by Veterans Day this year. And the reason for that is this year is the year of the veteran, and I would really like to focus on Veterans Day being the time when we can do that commemorative event to recognize all of our veterans by honoring them with a flagpole at the Doughboy. So, like I said, I've reviewed this. I've done all of the work associated with pulling this together and reviewed it with the Veterans Committee, and they are in agreement to go forward, so I'd like to have the board's approval to spend the up to $1,700 and use our...
I would have thought it would have been more.
Yeah, no, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Second.
That's what it is. All right.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Thing? So carried. We'll move forward with
Where's,
ordering the flagpole.
I'm sorry, where's it being shipped from?
That's what I was gonna look up. Uncommon Flag Company, wherever that is.
Yeah, but I don't know where it's actually being shipped from, Howie. I don't know.
No, just
I
kidding.
don't, and it's really
Yeah.
good information, but I don't have that information. What I was more interested in was in the visual aesthetics of the getting the proper height of the flag, pole there, as well as being able to erect it ourselves. And it doesn't look to be that difficult. It's a 24-inch hole and a 12-inch tube that goes down inside with an anchor bolt and done. I believe this is what we can do.
Yeah. That's great.
Okay. Next on committee is the special requests, and these are the peddling permits for Porch Fest. I'm not going to read each one in detail because I hope you've all had a chance to review these. I'll read the names of them. It's Culture Connect, CJ's, The Lunchbox, Letty's Ice Cream, Dirt Chicken, Spacey's, Tracy's, Foster's, and Carol Carrasco, that's right, have all submitted applications for Porch Fest. So I'd like to have the board's approval, if there's any discussion, any individual one, to approve these for the Porch Fest event.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Again, we're moving forward. Events and special requests. A Madagascar Lemur art install. I need to go to the documentation on this one, I'm sorry. Lemur request, there we go, I'm sorry. The second one down in the...
Lemur, sorry.
Lemur, right.
Madagascar.
So this is in conjunction with things that's all we've done before in the past, and it's under the other category. And if I remember right, Pat, can you help me with this?
Yes, I'm sorry. It's for the class at the Rhinebeck I believe it's for the Rhinebeck High School, and Henry Frischette, excuse me, thank you. They make Madagascar signs or posters, and they put them up, and they have permission from, do they put them on the telephone poles?
From Central Hudson.
It says, we would like to install the lemur-based artwork in the tree lining Market Street. In the past, we have left the artwork up for about a week, and we would like to continue with that model. Additionally, last year, we coordinated with the Chamber of Commerce and created a scavenger hunt with several local businesses. It has been wonderful to see the program grow in the past years. I'd be happy to come to a board meeting and discuss our program if requested. And I think this might be like the 4th year that they've done it.
Yeah. Any questions? I mean, this is continuing.
Yeah.
for high school.
This is fine.
Okay. We'll move through all of them. The next one is from the Rhinebeck Rotary, who this year is going to be hosting the Mad Dash, which is a 5-kilometer race. It starts in the village of Rhinebeck and travels out through the town of Rhinebeck, out Rhinecliff Road. And they have taken over this responsibility that was originally done by the Church of Messiah.
Oh, okay.
So the Church of Messiah has decided not to go forward with it, and the Rhinebeck Interact Club would like to pick up this event. The only thing I want to state on this is that it does take a lot of police time. So what we've talked about doing, and what I've talked with our Sergeant of Police, is that since the majority of the races in the town of Rhinebeck, we would be splitting the cost 50-50 with the town of Rhinebeck for that police coverage for the event. So we're not absorbing all of the costs, since it's predominantly in the town. Okay?
And Pete has seen these and he's approved them. He's had meetings with Matt Dash, and the gentleman who ran it last year is back in the picture again this year. So,
Good.
And next one is the Pan Farmers Market table request. This is a partnership for animals needing transition, for permission to use the table set up at the farmers market on 8/12, 9/9, and 10/28. Any discussion?
Sorry, what were the dates?
8/12.
8/12, 9/9, and 10/28.
No, but then they're also asking for
Yeah.
August 26th, September 9th, September 23rd, October 14th,
Or
October
that
20th.
changed? Oh, no, they changed it.
That's not what's on the application.
That's
So,
the-
Well, what's this letter?
Look at it.
Thanks, it says we would also like to request additional dates.
Ah,
August 26th, September 9th, September 23rd, October 14th, and
Oh.
October 28th.
Yeah.
And some of these agencies might want to extend more now that the farmer's market is going to be extended as well.
So are they been granted permission before? You got the list somewhere, right? You
I
got the
do.
schedule?
This is the first time that they've come.
they haven't used the table prior to this.
But then don't we have a limit of people?
2 per month,
Yeah.
that's it. That's the only limit that has to be in the nonprofit from the area.
So they're effectively, what they're doing is using their 2 per month, which still frees up the other 2.
Are the other two being used?
No, that's because I sent her a copy of the list.
Oh, okay.
Anybody have any question about that?
It's just-
I have a I guess I do have a question. Can the table be shared?
If it's agreeable to both people, parties.
Yeah. If we were to run into that issue.
As long as they both put an application in,
Yeah.
and as long as they both are agreeable, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, dogs and cats.
The same table? Yeah, I mean, they're grabbing a lot of dates, but they're grabbing a bunch of dates, but they're open. They're there for the speaking.
Yeah, there's not a conflict, I don't see how we can deny it.
Right. All right, Primrose Hill School Fair parking request. This is Primrose Hill School parking for Dutchess County Fair. We've made a requirement for all of them to put in an event application to be able to be approved, so they meet the guidelines. And so this is, for the first time ever, we're getting applications to come through the process, so I like it.
Did you see the response from John Fenton?
I did not.
John Fenton had a discussion with Officer Scattergood, who had a discussion with Sergeant Dunn, and the New York State Police, and please correct me because I don't have the email here in front of me. The New York State Police had issues because they're located on Route 9, and having the congestion, and there was an accident there last year. So because of the state police's recommendation, he would like to deny it. Or his vote is to deny it. So it's up to the board. And correct me if I'm wrong. 'cause
No,
that's-
Pat,
No, you're right.
He said the issues
Is there an email
were
here?
workers walking in traffic, soliciting drivers, causing accidents and traffic jams, large illegal signage that distracted drivers, causing visibility problems, not having enough workers controlling directing the vehicle flow, and parking causing close accidents and traffic buildup onto Route 9.
So some of those issues though we've addressed. We've addressed the signage issue as a requirement, so that's been eliminated. They can no longer put those large signs up, and park to attract. And they can't come out and solicit, right? So all of the event parking have been prohibited from soliciting out on the street to bring in cars. So some of those things we've taken care of because that has been an issue with all of our event parkers for the fairgrounds.
Can I ask why John isn't privy to that?
He is. I don't know why he didn't know that.
It's a pretty strong email.
I didn't see the email. I'm sorry, I have not seen that.
Can we put this off until our next special meeting?
What's that?
That's after the fair.
It's after the
Oh,
fair.
that's right.
We could,
I forgot the fair's next week.
we could.
Well, from John, it says, after speaking to Officer Scattergood, he spoke with Sergeant Dunn, it was highly recommended not to have the village board approve off-street paid parking during the DC Fair event.
When did he write that?
This afternoon.
I mean, I saw it too, but I forgot he wrote it today.
This afternoon, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen the email.
This
Yeah.
afternoon, because I pushed Officer Scattergood to get an answer, and they had a telephone conversation or a text conversation with Sergeant Dunn.
Yeah, because Sergeant Dunn is away on
He's on
vacation right
vacation.
now.
I think it's hard to approve it when our zoning enforcement officer is telling us he strongly recommends against it in an email from less than 6 hours ago.
Yeah, but the issues are, my only concern is, we've addressed those issues, which is particularly the signage. Now, the signage and the solicitation we've addressed. The issue of cars parking there in close access to a lot of traffic, that I can't argue with.
Right, basically, traffic's already backed up there, and then you have another...
And that's the issue that the state police are saying,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it causes more congestion.
This is a tough one, because I know this is a moneymaker for a lot of people to be able to raise funds as well.
I can't, if we put it to a vote, I can't vote for it. I'm sorry. I wish that we had more information. It sounds like there's a bit of a disconnect.
I think there is some
But-
sort of a disconnect going
But
on here.
I'd be hard pressed to be convinced to be able to support this, given the strong, what I'm thinking is characterizing as kind of strong language in John's email.
Yeah, I think in the future, I'd ask the school if they could start talking to the state police about how they would integrate with them if they want to have parking there. It seems like that,
Just so you know, the application came in just on August 8th.
right?
So what if we were to say, listen, you need to go get their approval? Or, and we say, we will only pass it on the condition that it really becomes, they get the approval by the state police, which is really in charge of that highway out there, which, I mean, we can handle the village issues with the signage and the solicitation and issues that we've had in the past if they were to arise, but I think the traffic control is very important, and we needed and we definitely, I agree with that, we need state police sign off on this.
Yeah. How would they do that? Would that be a...
Contact them and figure it out.
Yeah, I think only if they can make a viable plan with the state police.
Yeah, that's
Would that be acceptable to me?
what I just said.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying what my opinion
You
is.
should also know they want, once this one gets, they're going to be submitting one for Sheep and Wall as well.
Same issue.
Then they'd
So
have to,
that's why,
Yeah.
if they're going to have a discussion with the state police.
they might as well solve the problem twice,
Right.
and if they can get their sign off. All right, so,
So are we going by what the state police say, or state police and our village together, or or does the village listen to the state police?
I think in this case, the state police trump us because of the state road and the issues associated with the state road. We have the issues with making sure they conform to the code.
Right,
And
Right.
on the land.
in reading, right, and in reading the memo, it says, last year the troopers reported to the PD, to the Rhinebeck PD. So this is not an issue that we were handling directly.
Right.
This is an issue.
They
that the
reported to
troop-
them what was going on.
Right, so
with
it's,
traffic.
right, it's the issues that the troopers were handling directly, not us, wasn't our PD. So yeah, if they can work out a plan with the troopers, okay.
Okay?
Okay, so we haven't made a motion on that.
Yeah, so
Any
I'll
of
make
these?
one at the very end, and I'll go through that one.
Okay.
I'm still
Any
not
other discussion?
comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not either, because John Fenton is
Yeah,
recommended.
Well,
It's my respect for John, which I know we all respect him. I wish that we could have had this earlier in the day, or John could have been here, or maybe
Yeah.
you're just reading it for
Well,
the
how about
first time now.
we do the same thing, we have to work out an agreement. We amended to say, listen, not only is it an issue with the state police, but we need to have them come in and meet with us, which would include Pete, our sergeant of police, and to get approval.
I'm sorry if I'm seeming to be stubborn about
No,
this,
you
but
can go
I
over.
just, I've got a strong email from our zoning enforcement officer saying I highly recommend against this, and I'm not comfortable with, even though there are creative contingencies that you're trying to develop as a way to get this across, I'm just not,
Well, then let's vote on it. Let's make
Yeah.
a vote. All right. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve Primrose Hill School parking on the condition that they get approval from our state police that are managing the fairgrounds, and also seek approval by our own village PD in preparation to be able to do that they've satisfied the requirements.
Seek approval from our PD,
What?
from our PD?
Yes, our village PD.
Or have a plan that's acceptable to
Yeah.
all.
They obtain approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye, nay, whatever I say, I'm opposed.
So it's time up. So what are we doing?
the only time that we went to this field.
Call Brant.
Rock, paper, scissors?
I guess it doesn't pass.
Yeah, I don't think it passes.
Motion does not carry.
Very good. Okay, next is Halloween parade. This is by the American Legion, Unit 429, submitted by Allison Traver for,
She's in charge.
where's the definition here? I always lose it in here. Children's Halloween Costume Parade Competition, starting at Village Hall and ends at the Rhinebeck American Legion. This is kind of a Halloween tradition, right?
Yeah, it's great.
Sunday, October 28th, 2018, from 12 to 2. Any discussion?
No, it's a fun event.
All right, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Madagascar lemur art installation, Mad Dash, Pan Farmers Market table request, and the Halloween parade.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Okay, other business. I'm going to ask our village clerk to take over here. Parsonage Street, this is more or less correspondence, isn't it?
Our superintendent of public works asked me to put it under new business.
Oh,
So I put it there,
okay.
only because that's where he asked me, and it was based upon correspondence that he had gotten. And I don't have access to the cloud, so I don't have.
Okay, this is from John Fenton. Can you bring this up at tonight's board meeting under the new business to put this on next month's agenda? And that was an email on July 10th. And hello, this is, let's go back to, dear Mr. Fenton, I went to Village Hall today to speak to someone about Parsonage and South Street intersection and was directed to you. I live near the high school and go through the intersection just about every day, twice a day. We've lived in the village since 1998, and the intersection has become increasingly dangerous throughout the years. Would it be possible to add signage to both sides of the intersection on South Street that cross traffic does not stop? I believe that would make traffic rules clear to local visitors and visitors alike. And I believe we've already met that criteria because we've already added the signage previously based on discussions we've had on traffic flow. So I believe we met the requirement as submitted by this resident to make clear instructions. So I don't know if anybody's seen the signage that's been added several weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
To do that.
Yeah, cross traffic does not stop.
Cross traffic, yes. And this was based on a study that, we asked for a street study to be done at the county level. No,
This is North Parsonage.
oh wait, it says South
It
Street.
says South Street.
If you read her letter, sorry, I know, on his,
At the intersection of South Street.
South and Parsonage.
There's only can be on one side.
South Street on
Oh,
either
I'm
side.
sorry.
Parsonage.
my bad, I'm
Okay.
looking at letter and correspondence.
Yeah,
Shut, I told you I didn't have it. I should have kept my mouth shut.
that's okay. All right, so I believe we've already met
We're
this,
addressing it. yeah.
okay? And we've already addressed it, and the signage has been installed, right?
Yes.
Records Management Day. Do I have
Raccoon
one?
Day.
Raccoon, yeah, it's,
Raccoon Day.
it's
Where
the
do
day
I
I
have-
eat pizza. No, I've asked the village board if we could close the village offices to the public on Wednesday, August 22nd, to allow the staff here to maintain our files, which means going through, taking our current files or out-of-date files, putting them downstairs in the records management rooms, bringing up the boxes. We're having a shredding company come to go and shred approximately 50 boxes of
Wow.
of documents. And that will free up our space downstairs. Our shelving is getting shipped from Canada on the 24th of August. It should be arriving here on August 30th with our staff putting it together very shortly afterwards. So downstairs is really getting back and getting into shape. But I'm asking permission to close the village hall. We did it my first year as clerk, and we haven't done it since, and we really need, so that we
We need
don't,
clean house.
Yeah, 50.
it's kind of clean, you know, when you shut the doors and you clean your house, it's kind of like that.
That's a good idea. What is the criteria for documents to be shredded?
There's the MU1, it's the New York State Archives has a whole list of documents, and every document that gets shredded, I have to have a paper that I have to sign off. I have to sign off on everything that gets shredded, and Tricia in the court has to sign off on every document. Tricia has to go to the added level. I'm like the end of my, but Tricia has to have the Albany approve hers.
And what kind of documents are that?
I have vouchers. We only have to keep vouchers for 6 years. Just because I keep them for 7. But we have all the vouchers that can be shredded. We have payroll documents, but they're the backup supporting documents, the timesheets, the time cards, that type of thing. They only have to be saved for 6 years as well. So I have them back so I can get rid of those. It's mainly the vouchers and just extra payroll backup documents that
And the court clerk documents.
And then Tricia has her court documents. So between the two of us, like I said, it's almost 50 boxes. We've contacted a local shredding company, and we're scheduled, we're on their list to come on the 22nd. I changed it from, he wanted to come on the 21st, but we have payroll, so it's easier for the departments and everything to make it midweek, so.
Do we have a resolution or?
I just need a motion.
Motion. I'd like to make a motion that we close village offices on August 22nd
I second.
to clean house.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Very good. Well done. We've looked at other alternatives, by the way, of having a shredder company and have boxes here that they come on a regular basis, but the staff felt that it was just more effective to just do it this
Our
way.
volume is not that much, that once a year or once every 2 years is sufficient to have them come. I will reach out to Kyle at the fire department to see if he has anything that can be shredded at the same time. I've already reached out to our sergeant, and he does his continually during the year. So I have reached out to the other departments as well.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion then to approve our minutes for the July 9th short-term vacation workshop and the July 10th village board meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Very good. Next on the list is, now we're in the correspondence. Sorry.
Yes.
It's okay. So I think we're going to have a different approach towards our correspondence.
Yes.
And our clerk, Pat, can you kind of summarize what we're going to be doing now?
Well, Trustee, or Deputy Mayor Lewitt and I have been working on this. I had, as you know, I went to school, and I had Bob Freeman from the Committee on Open Government gave a talk on what really needs to be included in minutes and meetings, and you might have seen the change in the minutes from last time. because when the public came up, I had it public number 1, public number 2, public number 3. It was just the quickest way I could think of, because I cannot put the person's name in the minutes. It has to go by some kind of obscure thing, because they haven't given me permission to publish their work, their comments. So that is number 1, so you'll see a change in the minutes. The other part is this, kind of along the same line as to protect people's privacy, is the correspondence. As everyone knows in the public, all the correspondence and all the reports and everything are kept on file in my office, and they're open to the public upon a FOIL request, just to send me a paper or call me or put it in writing that they want to look at whatever the correspondence was, which I'm more than happy, and by law I have to provide. So for the correspondence, and to make the meeting go a lot quicker, instead of reading all the correspondence is received and is on file in my office.
And basically anything, and part of the discussion was anything that if we want to discuss the contents of the letter, we can discuss it generally, that's fine.
Correct.
The letter doesn't have to go into the record. So, but it means if somebody wants to go find the original, they certainly can, but we can discuss anything we want there.
Right.
And I think the other part was, I think, interesting is that privacy concerns have
Yes.
really moved to the fore. That used to be where people were really included, names, addresses and stuff, and now that's coming out because people are finding that, people are using that information.
Right.
Personal information for personal.
Threatening,
stolen
intimidation,
content.
whatever.
Yeah. So it's a new
Good.
quality.
So with that, you all have seen the correspondence. If there was anything that you wanted to have action on in the correspondence?
Yeah, there is the one that I would like to bring up, which is the one that we kind of referred to, which is a stop sign request at the intersection of North Parsonage and Platt. All right. This is a previous, this request was submitted previously, and the board at the time said no, but did put a no through street sign up, which is still there at that intersection. But it seems, according to this correspondence, has not stopped the traffic from continuing down that next part and running into the gate, the North Parsonage Street gate at the fairgrounds, which is really the next stop. So they ended up using that as a turnaround area to go through. And it is felt that a stop sign would discourage people from being able to just drive by it and realize that they've gone too far and can't come and have to turn around. As we all know, going through what we just recently did for the stop signs at Will Tremper, that requires an evaluation and a public hearing and associated information to be able to do that. If the board would so like to do that, or
Yeah, I think we should.
have another recommendation. I mean, we could make, rather than a no through street sign, maybe we could call it a dead end, so that it's a little bit
That's a
more
little
obvious.
clearer, yeah.
A little bit more clear that it's not a through street. I mean, a through street,
I live on one of those, nobody knows
Yes.
what it means. Nobody knows what it means.
through street means. So
That's a good idea.
my thought, that was just my thought, I haven't talked to anybody else about it, but it was to make it change the no through street sign to a dead end street.
Right, that's really clear.
It's kind of a little bit larger than the standard
Yes.
no through street sign.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also,
Do we have to go through V&T for that?
It depends on how it's listed on our streets. If it's listed on our streets as the village end, because it is a private road after, I believe, once it goes into the fairgrounds.
Correct.
So, but there's that other little road that goes off.
yeah.
Yes, there's another road there that we maintain.
Right.
All right, so if the board's okay with that, why can't we, can I ask the village clerk to do the
Sure.
investigation?
I'll
Yeah.
See if we can
out.
change the sign and then come back with a recommendation. And if it's okay, then we proceed with putting a dead end street sign. Okay?
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
do I need to make a motion for that? street sign?
Yes, because if you're gonna do it upon when I find out, yes.
Second.
Well, yeah, someone made a motion. So all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Very good, thank you. That's the only one that I wanted to bring up.
You saw the ones from the American Legion?
Yeah, there's a request from the American Legion that's in there.
Oh, did I miss that?
It just came in
Oh,
for a coin drop.
Yesterday.
Doesn't that need an event application? Doesn't the coin drop need an event application?
They already did. Their coin drop already did.
Oh.
And they were changed from right across by the Doughboy to they couldn't be on East Market Street.
Oh,
I mean, the sergeant had some
right, it was a
concerns.
safety issue, sure.
Yeah, but this seems like a good solution. To be on the lawn.
No, it doesn't say they want to be on the lawn.
oh, so, and
It says coin drops, permission to set up our Sunday coin drop on the lawn in front of the Doughboy statue.
how do they do a coin drop on the lawn?
Well, I think they'll be out of, obviously, the traffic, but still within proximity of a lot of pedestrian traffic and
So sidewalk traffic.
sidewalk traffic, yeah.
Oh, I see where it says it here.
So this is to engage pedestrians, not to engage drivers. Is that
Right, because they can't go out on the street.
For some reason, I believe we have a code for that, though?
It's funny you said that. When he came in and asked me, I said, normally the board does not allow anybody to solicit or sell in that park because it's considered like hallowed ground. And the response back was that their names are on those plaques.
Yeah, but I'm on a really different issue. You're using the sidewalk for solicitation.
Not that I'm aware of.
Having not seen this, I haven't had a chance to
Right.
research
Yeah.
this to see if we're allowing solicitation on the site.
We have time to research it, and then by the 28th, we can make a decision on the 28th
Yes.
meeting.
Let's
Is
do that.
Yes, I would prefer that we do that,
Okay.
because, I don't know, Pat, I believe that there's,
It could be about us.
yeah, I believe we have a code rule on this.
I was just trying to think of the, like the Girl
I don't have
Scouts
a code book
cookies
here
and
with me,
stuff.
so.
They,
All right, so let's table this for further investigation, and we can discuss on the 28th. Okay? Anything else anybody wants to discuss?
No.
Okay.
we had, I'll be the nudge on
Yeah.
the correspondence. We had a request to place a sign on Center Street, that side of Center Street, the north side. Avoid unmuffled air engine brakes. This person had seen them when she was visiting in Maine, New Hampshire, one of the New England states, because the sound and the noise coming from the garbage trucks has been annoying her. And they have contacted the garbage trucks and about the brake noise. And she had seen the sign, and her request to the board was, please make a sign for the benefit of those who don't care about, neighbors on Center Street.
Those are usually called Jake brakes or engine brakes. That's usually not what the garbage truck is doing.
No,
Usually those are the brakes that go bum, 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 bum.
Yeah, that's for when the truck is slowing down.
Slowing down from a high
The
speed.
fire trucks have those. I know the fire trucks have those kind of air brakes. But I don't think the garbage trucks do.
Right, I think it's just noisy, it's just a noisy garbage truck. I think it's a air brake.
So we can table that.
Yeah.
And then this
Engine
person that's
brake.
contacted me a couple of times, and I have to get back to her, was that Live on New York.
And what is that one for?
She is the coordinator of Live on New York. It is the organ procurement organization serving 12 counties in New York State. One is Dutchess County. They work on increasing the awareness, and she wanted to facilitate donor enrollment day.
Yeah.
I think you all have that one, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
I don't have a problem with soliciting for Where would they do solicitation at, though?
Well, probably once I contact her, they would probably either ask to put donor awareness, donor enrollment cards here, or they might set up a table in somewhere centrally located. I haven't talked to her about the details.
Can we get some more details
Yeah.
before we say yes or no? It's a little unclear what we're saying yes or no to.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a good cause.
I know I've personally worked on tables like this.
overall, I'm in favor of doing it, we just need to find
Right,
out the
and-
location.
I've never done them at a work location, I've done them in malls and that type of thing. I explained to her we're really small and we're not all centrally
Right.
located. So I don't know if it would be just a literature thing or what.
If she can provide us with a plan,
Okay.
that would be really
Yeah.
helpful.
She's saying it's in October.
Yeah.
No specific date, just October is our donor enrollment day.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, a little more detail.
Okay. That's all.
Next subject, vacation buyout. Personnel. We'll take them in the order presented.
This,
Um,
is this executive session?
What?
Executive session?
No,
It's public,
no.
okay.
No,
No.
no. Prepared.
No. So our village clerk would like to buy out 70 hours. She currently has 308 hours. I would like to make a motion to approve.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next is from the Highway Department, Scott Min, who is currently over his allocation of his cap for vacation. And in order to get him back into compliance, and part of the negotiations that Deputy Mayor Lewin and I made, is that we would, on a one-time only, allow them to use up a portion of their over-the-cap hours and purchase the rest of the hours out as a buyout to get them back into compliance for the vacation buyout. So I'd like to make a motion to approve Scott Min to buy out 75 hours of his accumulated vacation time.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And along with that same justification is for Tom Johnson of the Highway Department, who is over his cap by 323 hours. He would buy out 50% of those hours, so whatever that is, 165 and a half hours. And then he is required to use up the other 165 days or lose them before the end of his anniversary date, which he gets accumulated new vacation. So it has to be used up by his anniversary date.
So,
How's that possible?
no. So just to make it clear, so basically, it for both Tom and Scott, basically what happens is they entered into this contract year over the cap. And also they're receiving additional additional vacation time for this year. So what we asked them to do is take half of the overall, call it overhang, take half of the overhang time, actually take that as a vacation. We'll buy up the other half of the time. And that will get them essentially to the cap. Now they have a new set of vacation hours for the new year. They can do with them what they want. If they want to ask us to buy it out at the end of the coming year, we can do that, or whatever they want. But this basically eliminates the overhang.
So part of the way our contract is currently written is they cannot exceed their cap. Everybody has a different cap level. That was set back in 2016. Tom Johnson's cap happens to be 293 hours. He has chosen not to take vacation for the past 2+ years, so he's 323 hours over his 293. He's in violation and would lose those under normal circumstances. As part of the negotiations that we did with the union in terms of the new contract for these two individuals who did not follow the procedure and did not request a buyout,
Right.
we agreed to do this 50-50 deal.
Okay. So 150 out, he's buying out half of it.
He's
About
buying out
$8,000.
161.75.
Right. So So he still has 150, I said 150 divided by 8, that's 18, almost 19 days more. He's going to take off by when?
His anniversary date.
Well, which is, that's my,
It's spring.
June
it's
1.
June 1.
Yeah.
2015.
And actually, what's happening is, there's special circumstances coming up where Mr. Johnson will need to take this vacation.
okay. I don't know if
So
it
it's
was
not-
before the end of the year, I don't know when.
No, but yeah, by the time when the 2019,
I just didn't want him to take 18 days during leaf season.
no. No.
There's special circumstances that she's gonna have to take this
Okay.
vacation.
Yeah, no. And remember, and we always, remember trustees also approve when and where people can take
Yeah.
vacations, so
Right.
you can remain,
All right, so do we have approval for
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
yes.
Second?
Yes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Very good. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the regular session of the village board meeting for August 14th and to enter into executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Very good, thank you. Short delay.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to now close the executive session of August 14th with no motions to carry forward.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Carried. Thank you, meeting adjourned.